already time for race 4 on this 2026 GT World Challenge America powered by AWS season. And for the first time in 15 years, we're back at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Over the next 3 hours, 19 GT3 machines are going to be ready to tell their story. I bet a lot of that story will happen right here with the guys to tell our story. Let's go to Calvin Fish and Brian Marine.
Thanks very much, Amanda, and wow, what a place, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Cal, when this was announced on the schedule, all of us got a big smile on our faces. Love coming to this place.
Definitely a highlight on the championship season. I mean, this is old school, Ron. You make a mistake here, you're going to have huge consequences, big commitment corners like turn 1, turn 5, putting all on the line, and it's going to be really crucial for a lot of these teams to have a strong weekend, I think.
And it comes at a big time in the season because we're at the halfway point. The championships have really closed up, both in the Pro and Pro-Am classes.
Well, particularly in the Pro class, look like JMF are having all their own way, dominating season. Then suddenly they have a technical issue at Sebring. Very rarely do you have Mercedes having a problem. They did that day, and that has certainly tightened up the points here. Robbie Foley, Justin Rothberg, first win of the year. They needed it. They need to get in the championship game. They've done that. They've been testing here. They're going to be strong here this weekend.
Well, as Cal alluded, so much change to the championship the last time out at Sebring. Let's take a look back on what transpired back in May. There's the green flag, and Mackay Stevens on the brake. Gets the jump on Perez Compact. The blue Ferrari settles back in line. Sedgwick on the attack here early. That is that Dollarhide Mustang. He only got 1 lap of practice before qualifying with all the issues they've had, but he's sending it around the outside. Mustang up to P2. This is massive. Problems for the overall leader of the race, Michael Grenier, with smoke coming out of that Mercedes. Heartbreaking for the championship leaders coming in, and this then throws the championship wide open. Rothberg and Robbie Foley are race winners in the Pro class for the first time. Turner Motorsport reigns supreme in Sebring. Lawrence holds off Shandor for second to fight at the end of this 3-hour race for second place. That has to feel like a monumental achievement.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Pro class podium.
Race number 4, and we're right here at Road Atlanta with Cameron Lawrence. What happened before Sebring?
We had our second child, our son Jet Lawrence. So Morgan's at home with the kids, taking care of everybody. But very exciting when you have a baby on Thursday, and very fortunate for my wife to let me be at Sebring on Friday.
How much are you sleeping?
Not much, a little bit at a time. Jet's doing great, but you know, sometimes 30 minutes here on the plane in the driver's lounge is kind of all you need.
You're racing for Dollarhide Racing this season in that Ford Mustang. What's the aura of that team?
It's a great team. It's a small town team from Austin, and luckily I'm about 30 minutes from the shop, and it's really fun to work with father-son, with Scott and Bill, and they're great. So I really enjoy being able to stop by the track, get a coffee on the way there, go home, see my family. But it's good. We try to show some of these bigger teams what we've got, and we're learning every step of the way.
Speaking of that, looking at that pro category, I feel like it's anyone's ball game. How do you assess the competition?
Yeah, that's what I love about racing. It's anybody's game. It could be anybody's day. Just trying to keep it clean, keep the mistakes to zero, and you never know what can go your way. So it's cutthroat. We got 5 really good cars in the pro class this season. All different cars and manufacturers, so it's been a lot of fun.
What can you tell us about your co-driver, Alex?
Working with Alex has been great. I've got to watch him in other cars and other series, and he's always been a front runner, cutthroat competitor. So never have to worry about the car. We both keep it clean, try to keep it up front, keep it fast, and it's been great.
All right, with that behind us, what sound does a Ford Mustang make?
It is a hot and humid afternoon in Georgia. Temperatures, though, have come down slightly as a squall moved through about an hour ago, and it's left the track damp in places, and it's left the teams with a bit of a conundrum as we close in on the start of the next round of the season for GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Cloudy skies overhead, but they're starting to clear once again, and we'll see those temperatures start to rise as if this place wasn't challenging enough. Our own Calvin Fish will talk you through the challenge that is Road Atlanta.
take a ride around this amazing circuit here at Road Atlanta aboard the number 6 Dollar Height Racing Ford Mustang with Cam Lawrence behind the wheel. Approach speed down into turn 1 about 155 miles an hour. Really tricky, big challenge here. Radius will take you out to the outside, then you get the compression of the hill, up the hill. Approach speed up into turn 3 about 125, down a couple of gears. Really tricky S's here. Car wants to wash out on you, slight breathe of the throttle down through the S's, then you have really fast feet here down into turn 5. Big brake zone, minimum speed about 90 miles an hour. Then you're going to climb all over that curb on the exit speed there. Chance to catch your breath on the run down to turn 6. 140 miles an hour, 5th gear, down to 3rd, 85 miles an hour minimum speed. Quick burst on the throttle, then on the brakes, really slowing things down. You have to be patient here. Wait for it and then go. Big launch off down this back straightaway, eating up the tarmac at an incredible rate here. Top speed on the approach down to turn 10A and 10B will be over 160 miles an hour this weekend in one of these GT3 machines. Coming down the dip, looking for that compression here. Deep on the brakes, all the way down to 2nd gear, trying to get to that first apex, maybe a short shift up to 3rd. Power down, trying to get the traction, launching the car up under the bridge as we finish a lap here through turn 12, and that is an amazing lap here at Road Atlanta.
That was the voice of our own Calvin Fish on board lap there with Cameron Lawrence in the Dollar Height Racing Ford Mustang GT3 Evo. What a place this is. 56 years of history, 12 turns, 2.5 miles, the perfect setting for the next step on the championship trail. Let's go down to the grid and get some stories and interviews with our own Amanda Busick.
Hey guys, yeah, and it has been wild here the last 30 minutes at Road Atlanta with the weather conditions. I did take a stroll down pit lane, and every single one of our GT3 machines currently have wet tires on. It is clearing out here. We see blue skies, probably sun to peek through, and our pole sitter with wet tires. Matthias, what's your familiarity with conditions like this, and how do you approach this track?
Yes, so I raced once in the GT3 on the rain, so let's see this time. It appears that it will dry quite quickly, so we expect to be on dry tires on the second stint, so we'll see.
What has your team told you about Road Atlanta potentially in these conditions?
It's a difficult track to pass in wet, so we'll just have to stay with first place and manage to be first place all the race and bring home the win.
Good luck today and congratulations on that Rovo pole position. You'll see over here Mackay Stevens getting ready, putting his head sock on, about to get inside of this Mercedes. And Mackay, how do you approach a wet Road Atlanta?
Just got to stay open-minded, see what the track gives you, and enjoy the ride along the way.
I think that might be the most beautiful way to approach rain conditions, and why am I not surprised that it comes straight from Mackay Stevens. As we walk back here, you'll see Robbie Foley getting suited up. You'll see Todd Coleman in the McLaren for Pro-Am on the pole next to Aaron Telitz. It looks like they're talking a little strategy too, probably with the conditions. Todd, congratulations on such an effort yesterday and picking up pole in class for you guys. You and Aaron just talking, I'm assuming, was on conditions?
Absolutely. I won't give away any secrets, but it's drying quick.
Drying quick. So, guys, this might be a busy pit lane down here after we get underneath the start of this race. There will be 2 formation laps. I'm still looking down pit lane. I haven't seen anyone change any tires yet, but we'll be on it, guys.
Appreciate that, Amanda. Keep an eye out for us. This is a real conundrum for these teams because, as you heard, everyone's expecting it to dry quickly, but it's not yet dry enough to roll the dice on slicks.
Yeah, there's still some standing water out there, but it does allow some strategy here. You could pit as early as maybe a minute 11, minute 12, and still do it on 3 stints to the finish. So I think a lot of teams are looking at that. We didn't think that was going to be feasible because you can go down a lap so quickly here with a short lap, but nonetheless, that may open up that opportunity on the strategy if this racetrack dries as quickly as we think it will with the humidity and the heat we have here this weekend.
Tire rules a big part of this championship normally, but the weather changes things.
Yeah, well, with the tire rules coming into each race, you have to run your driver's qualifying set during the race here, but if there's any wet weather running, that goes out of the window, so that allows for some of the teams to maybe just use new sets of tires in this race. The allotment is going to kind of factor in there as well, but definitely it opens up some strategies here. All of the strategists, the team managers have to be on their toes to make the right calls with this kind of curveball with the conditions today.
It's been 15 years since SRO America and its previous guys has raced at this track. A number of the teams and drivers haven't been here at all. Many of them, maybe they've been here before, but not in a GT3 car, and now another wrinkle with the wet weather.
Yeah, and I think there's some of these GT3, I mean, Compact says he's had one run in a GT3 car in the wet. I think there's some drivers like Cam Lawrence, I think Sedgwick haven't driven that Mustang yet in wet conditions. So this is going to be very much a learning curve for all of those drivers to go out there. Big thumbs up there from Daskalos. Great to see him teamed up with Phil Ellis. When we got that news, it's really cool that we saw that happen after their great battle that they had at Barber Motorsports Park last year. Lorcan Hannafin couldn't be here this weekend with an opportunity at Le Mans. Phil Ellis is filling in.
Couple of drivers still available, so Amanda will track them down for us. Amanda, who have you found?
Robbie Foley, actually, and just little last-minute things going on here for the Ladacrete team. And Robbie, these conditions out here, we just talked to Todd Coleman. He said, I'm not giving away strategy of what we're doing. How quickly do you think we might see a dry track?
It's hard to say. I mean, there's maybe some additional weather coming, but it's still wet for now. I think the fuel windows we have and the strategy we have, I think that's probably why everybody's starting on wets. But kind of have to see how quick the track dries. It probably will dry quickly, but hard to say.
SRO America is in Atlanta, Georgia, but SRO is a global motorsport series. Let's check out what's happening internationally.
GT World Challenge is a global championship for manufacturers producing GT3 cars racing around the world. 10 manufacturers are involved in 2026, including brands like Aston, Audi, BMW, Chevrolet, Ferrari, Ford, Lamborghini, McLaren, Mercedes, and of course Porsche, all scoring points in 4 global championships. And the Worldwide Championship continued back in May with the 3rd and 4th races of the GT World Challenge Australia season at the Bend Circuit in Adelaide, which saw Mercedes dominate both races. Sergio Perez and Brendan Leach in the 44 black and green machine took the honors in race 1, while race 2 was a Mercedes front row lockout. The Move My Wheels AMG GT3 took their 2nd win of the year. In Europe, Monza saw a spectacular 3-hour battle of utter mayhem.
And why Mercedes makes contact again, and Boots and Porsche demolished, and there's absolute mayhem.
It was a shocked Maxime Martin who suffered a 3-minute stop-and-go penalty for causing the first corner incident. This second incident brought out the safety car, which gave Attempto Racing Audi, which started the race back in 29th place, an unexpected win to the team's utter delight. Back to the other side of the globe this weekend to Queensland Raceway, which played host to the 5th and 6th races of the GT World Challenge Australia season. Race 1 again saw Mercedes dominate at the start, but it was the OnlyFans Ferrari of Renee Gracie who made this fantastic move for the lead, and along with her teammate Will Davidson, scored her first win of the year. And in race 2, Mercedes pilots Brendan Leach and Sergio Perez were back on the top step. After that race this morning, the global manufacturer standings look like this. Mercedes is still at the top of the pile, with Porsche and Ferrari 2nd and 3rd, Audi Sport and BMW rounding out the top 5. And the next tranche of manufacturers' points will be paid out here in Atlanta in just over 3 hours' time. It's a unique concept with global implications, right? Manufacturers selling these GT3 cars all over the world and scoring points into one big pool. What happens here in the States is just as important as what happens in Europe or Asia or Australia.
Absolutely. Every single event counts, and the manufacturers put a lot into these efforts to make sure they're going to be at the top of the pile at the end of the year.
Plenty at stake here this weekend for the manufacturers, for the teams themselves, the drivers as well. Let's go down trackside for pre-race festivities as we get set to go racing here at Road Atlanta.
And I have a feeling there is a very big smile inside of that broadcast booth right now as we have a very special guest, our very own Calvin Fish's daughter, to give the command. Livy.
Drivers, start your engines.
Well done, Livy. She who's ready for her close-up today. More ready than you were, I think, Cal.
Great to see her down there. She's really enjoyed the weekend. I think she puts it in perspective when she said, I'd rather be here than at the shopping mall. So
hey,
that's huge.
That's a win for motorsports right there. Who says the young people don't care about
That's
cars
right.
these days? Well, plenty of smiles all around because the sun is poking out once again. Just looking at the pavement here in the pit lane, it looks damp, but it's not wet per se.
No, I think it's going to dry rapidly here, so the real key is not to make an early mistake, just keep it on the island, so to speak.
Here are the pole sitters in their respective classes. AF Corsa with Matthias Perez-Kompank and Fred Schandorf. They're the pro class pole sitters. Aaron Thielitz and Todd Coleman, they've been super fast all weekend long. They're on the Pro-Am pole. Jay Schreibman's got a new teammate this weekend, Benny Simonson, teaming up with Jay, and they are the AM class pole sitters for this race. A quick recovery to Jay's usual teammate, Oz Negri. Oz, wish you were here. Hope to see you in Elkhart Lake. Here's the starting grid with the pro pole position to Matthias Perez-Kompank. He's the Rover Pole Award winner. Mackay Stevens will start in the second spot in his Mercedes. Then on the second row, it's Justin Rothberg. He's in a BMW for Turner Motorsport. Todd Coleman on pole in Pro-Am, 4th overall. Great qualifying effort for that duo. Cam Lawrence in Dollar Height Racing will start 5th overall, next to Brayton Williams, impressive young rookie. Michael McCann Jr. from McCann Racing in that Porsche starting in 7th. Jason Daskalos with Philip Ellis alongside this weekend starts in 8th. Dave Usual will start 9th today. JP Martinez for RS1 in 10th. Then to the 6th row of the grid, that's where you'll find Slade Stewart in the Riley Technologies BMW, Kyle Washington as well in his G&G Racing Porsche. Todd Perriott for Kelly Moss has Derek DeBoer for company in row number 7. Michael Clark, also out of the Kelly Moss stable, will start next to Frank Depew from Rebel Rock Racing. Best qualifying effort for the season for that team. John Gilliland and Therese Lalu make up row number 9, and Jay Schreidman will start out back today in his Ferrari from AF Corsa USA. This is a look at the backstretch here at Road Atlanta. Down at the bottom of the hill, this is where I'm wondering, is there still a little bit of moisture puddling up? Don't see too much of it. 2 formation laps here, Calvin. These are really important laps for these drivers to figure out where is it wet, where is it dry, where's the grip going to be when we go green.
Yeah, I think really important that they do have those 2 formation laps to get that together and make the right calls. And as we said, there's an option there to do an early stop, maybe 11, 12 minutes in here, then do an extra stint and suffice that 75 minutes minimum drive time. I think that's what the good drivers and the teams and the engineers and strategists are going to be looking at first and foremost today.
End of the first formation lap, Derek DeBoer is shown as in the pit lane. That's the Random Vandals BMW. Let's keep an eye on that. Here's the onboard shot, and indeed, that car is coming into the pits. Are they going to do a tire change?
It certainly looks that way. There's some tires at the ready, so I think they've made the call that maybe it is too dry now for wet weather tires. And the problem with wet weather tires, they're a much softer compound. They have the tread block, which will move around, and it's almost like driving on ice when you overheat that tire. So Derek's already made the call. He's run a lot of races in Europe over the last couple of years. I think that's given him the experience to maybe have been in similar conditions as to this and making the call early.
It's an interesting call because, yes, they lose the track position, but they've effectively got a jump on the rest of the field who might be nursing wet weather tires when we go green. Now, the question is, do they get to rejoin the pack, or is it a pit lane start?
I think what they're going to do here potentially is just hold that car stationary, and that may be suffice a mandatory fuel fill. So we'll knock one of those out.
Wow.
But we haven't seen green, so that's not going to work, thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, something for teams and strategists and pit lane officials to try and work out. We're coming to the start of the race, and the drama has already begun to unfold before the clock has even begun to tick down. A couple of onboard looks for you. We had Derek DeBoer's BMW. That was Jason Daskalos in his Mercedes. This is one of the many Porsches in the field. Therese Lalu will start back in the 18th spot. Great look from on board her 911. Here's Dave Usual, another Porsche. This one from Wright Motorsports, starting right in the middle of the pack. That could be an action spot for Dave as he gets ready to go. There is the Random Vandals car taking that pit lane start. Field in 2x2 alignment with the Ferrari of Matthias Perez-Kompank the pole position winner. He'll lead the field to green and get a great jump. Heather Fish will wave the green flag, and we are racing here at Road Atlanta. Field funneling down into turn number 1 already. We see the Mustang pop out of line, looking for traction, looking for purchase. A little bit of moisture kicked up by the tires, but by and large, it does look pretty dry. Decently clean start through the first couple of corners.
Side by side here with McCann Jr. going at it with Jason Daskelos. They're not running in the same cars, but looking for track position early.
Daskelos puts the Mercedes ahead of the Porsche. Also seeing some Porsches going side by side. Gilliland and Lalu a little bit further back in the pack. Everyone tiptoeing here on tenterhooks.
Yeah, they are, but I think with those wet weather tires going to give you a bundle of grip. The question is, how quickly do you overheat them? Here comes Cam Lawrence making a move on Todd Coleman there.
That is a Pro Class car passing the Pro-Am class leader. That's big for Lawrence because it gets him to the back of the rest of his class.
That team really believes with that Ford Mustang platform. They run it relatively soft, and they've always been thinking if we get some wet weather conditions, they can really play into our hands in the performance of this race car.
Now that move's been made, the next one to try and line up a pass would be Brayton Williams in the blue and black Mercedes. That would be for the lead in Pro-Am. Looked like the straight line speed of the McLaren, though, was good enough to make sure that Coleman was not under any potential duress. Fierce fights throughout the middle of this pack here, coming around to complete the first lap. Let's head down to the pits and get an update with Amanda.
Next to Paul Sparta, who's really happy with the decision that was made. It's our understanding that everyone was on wets aside from maybe one race car, and we know that yours definitely is not now. What was the ultimate decision, Paul?
Well, we think it's just going to dry so fast that it's better for him to survive with a couple of slow laps and be careful than it is to go out and take a green flag stop.
And Calvin, I liked how you mentioned that Derek's been racing overseas. Paul said that he trusts Derek implicitly out there in these conditions.
Yeah, and I think that's the real key. I mean, you can look at a racetrack and you can be an engineer and a strategist and say this is what we need to do, but until the driver actually goes around there and goes through a few corners, gives you the level of grip that you're dealing with. So, as you said, Amanda, yeah, Derek's had a ton of experience over in Europe. You're dealing with these conditions on a more regular basis than we do here in the States.
And his pace early on the dries has been solid. That's only going to get better as the track dries out. Change for the lead. Mackay Stevens through on Matias Perez compact. It's now Mercedes ahead of Ferrari. Another change. It's for the third spot. Cameron Lawrence got around Justin Rothberg.
Yeah, and he's kind of gapped him immediately. I think for Justin Rothberg, just needs to keep that car in the mix. Foley had the fastest lap in qualifying yesterday, and combined, they ended up P3 on the grid. So Foley's got immense pace. Justin's really done a great job as well in sort of setting the stage for Foley. But just keep it clean, no mistakes. They're only 5 points out of the championship lead.
Watching Jason Daskelos, that's the black and maroon. And a metallic red, really. Mercedes right here. Sister car to the overall leader. Oh, and a spin further back. I believe that's Perriott who's gone around. DeBoer tiptoes by. Perriott was 17th at the time of the miscue.
I believe this is turn 10.
Yes.
End of the straightaway. It's a very tight corner if you just kind of light it up. Too early really to come in. Do that mandatory stop. You got to do 3 mandatory fuel stops. To do that, you got to be on pit lane for a minimum of 78 seconds. So that's going to play into the strategy here. Once we get to the pit stops, we'll dig into that a little bit further.
Cameron Lawrence, a native Floridian, although he now calls Austin, Texas home. He's got plenty of wet laps under his belt in his extensive racing career, but these are the first damp, drying, wet kind of laps that he's had in this Mustang already. They're looking for those puddles, Calvin. That tells me the tire temperature started to come up on these wets.
Yeah, and basically by driving through the puddles and finding the dampness on the racetrack, it's going to cool those tires down a little bit. Cameron Lawrence with a big run here down the back stretch. Problems here for Brayton Williams.
He was running second in the Pro-Am class.
Got to be careful.
Overall.
Don't get too far in the boonies with that wet grass right now.
To get back on the track, but there's DeBoer, who's been tiptoeing around on the dry tires. The track should be coming to him. He's picked off a couple already, and he's starting to catch the back of the pack.
Yeah, he's only a second off through the first sector right now, so it's definitely leaning in that direction. I really think once we get to around 10, 12, 13 minutes in, that opens up some strategy to make that early stop. Cameron Lawrence now up to P2. Mackay Stevens made that bold move around the outside on Perez Compact to take the lead. JMF trying to rebound after a disaster at Sebring where they seem to have things all under control. Had a broken oil cooler. That oil then got up under the header. Small fire on that race car, but their day was done, and they lost 15 points to the Turner Motorsports duo of Justin Rothberg and Robbie Foley.
Oh, it was a massive swing, exactly as you say. Mackay Stevens and Mikhail Grenier, to that point, had been in firm control, and they looked like they were on for another big result. Instead, they score 5th place points, which is as few as you can score in this 5-car pro class, and it's let the rest of the field right back in.
It has, and that just really demonstrates there's only 7-point scoring opportunities this year. Very different to last year when you had 13 point scoring races on the calendar, so that really changes the dynamic. Here comes Cameron Lawrence down the inside, just got a big launch off the chicane, made that move stick. He is moving forward in a hurry here.
He is confident putting that car anywhere on the track, no matter what the grip conditions might be. He is one that told us a little bit of rain, we'd be all right with that, even with his lack of experience driving this Mustang in the wet.
Yeah, I had a quick chat with Cam this morning. He said we actually found something with the setup on the race car and the rear suspension sort of set up with the damping that really seemed to move the car in a very different direction. We're always trying to control rear tire degradation, and he said we ended up with a little bit too much understeer. So he said that's actually perfect for this race car. If you start the stint with a little bit of understeer, when the tire deck is going to lean back to a more neutral car at the end of the stint, and that's when it's really quick.
Yeah, he said the rotation they were experiencing at Sebring was on the ragged edge of what they were comfortable with as a pairing. Sedgwick felt the same way, but it was manageable at a track like Sebring, less so here, so it sounds like they've been able to find the car closer to the window.
Absolutely, and they also lost a little bit of track time. We've talked about them coming back at Sebring with some issues. They certainly did the same thing here this weekend. So, as Cam said, it's a small team, but they're doing great things right now. They're learning the ropes. They've got a great platform to work with from Ford Motorsports. So here we see some action deeper in the pack.
We do. Coleman is being swallowed up here. That's the leader in Pro-Am. Just got passed by McCann. That's a Pro Class car, but also lost first and second in class. Mercedes of Daskalos, BMW of Slade Stewart. That is the effective battle for the class lead.
And he's obviously had a moment there during this lap because he was way up the running order prior to that move, and then suddenly everyone ganged up on him a little bit. That McLaren's been really, really quick here this weekend. Aaron Telitz, I've never seen him more confident in terms of the car's ability. He said he's just immense down through the S's on all, but wide open in qualifying trim. He said you typically can't do that with a GT3 car.
Trouble's not done yet for Todd Coleman. Here comes Kyle Washington, who's already been on track today, albeit in much different conditions than we're experiencing right now. He's doing double duty as he tends to do between GT World Challenge and GT America, single driver 40-minute sprint races. And Kyle Washington's been able to make his way up to 4th place in class. But it's Daskalos that now leads, and he has been harrying McCann over the last few laps. For a little while, actually was ahead of McCann. That then changed hands right before we started to pick up this battle, which was the moment when Coleman dropped down from the lead to 3rd.
But what a run for Slade Stewart here. Bought the car that they fondly call Sparkle Farts, and that car is absolutely flying here.
Oh, no question about it. Riley Technologies, the team. Andy Lee is his co-driver. Pink and white with the sparkly unicorn on the side of it. You can't miss Sparkle Farts, that's for sure.
He was a second quicker than Daskalos on that last lap, so he is absolutely flying in these conditions.
Started 6th in class. That was 11th overall. Now finds himself 7th overall and 2nd in class. At the front of the field, Cameron Lawrence continues to lay down hot laps. He has tracked down and caught Mackay Stevens.
Yeah, he's really flying right now. We're seeing lap times in the 25 range. We're going to get to that crossover point. I mean, when you're running those sort of lap times, if both these drivers, we believe they're both on wets, we'll try and get confirmation on that, but if they're on wets, this is going to really load those wet weather tires. They're going to be struggling to hang on. It'll just really chew that wet weather tire up, just overloads it. Doesn't give you the same platform as a slick tire with a solid surface area.
Maybe that's what Todd Coleman is dealing with, because he just lost another spot to Kyle Washington. We know how quick that car has been in the dry. But on these wet weather tires in effectively now dry conditions, that car seems to be struggling.
I think they're going to really be pushing to try and get that 75-minute minimum drive time knocked out. How you can do that is basically be out there for maybe 11 to 12 minutes. Then with your time on pit lane, that doesn't count towards your driver's stint. Then you do a maximum stint length of 65. You're not always going to get that maximum 65 depending on where you hit pit lane. You may have to come in a lap earlier or almost a full lap earlier on that. But I think about 11.5 minutes, we're getting really close to that mark, is where you can pull that strategy.
Rothberg has fallen into the clutches not just of McCann, who is through, but also Jason Daskalos, who is absolutely on a tear. His usual co-driver, Lorcan Hannafin, got a last-second opportunity to go to France, race in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That race just ended a few hours ago, so Lorcan's probably checking in and watching to see how his teammate Jason Daskalos is doing here at Road Atlanta. The answer, great. He leads the class and is starting to pull away, although Slade Stewart actually is keeping him honest. Here comes Slade now.
Yeah, I think Rothberg's just struggling for grip and balance right now, so I think he may have overheated those tires possibly, so he's going to be looking for an opportunity maybe as early as next time by pit in. Probably stay in the car, try and knock out his 75-minute drive time. All hypothetical, not the ultimate strategist here, but there is that opportunity.
Don't sell yourself short, Cal. You're as good as they come as far as I'm concerned. By the way, Derek DeBoer, who is the wild card in all of this, having taken the pit lane start. They pitted to put dries on the formation lap. He's already driven his way up to 12th overall and 7th in the class. Let's go back down to the pits and check in with Amanda.
Yeah, I was just with Paul Sparta, and he took his headset off and said, this is working out nicely. I did scoot down to talk to Aaron Telitz, who said that McLaren is struggling with these wet tires. I said, well, when are you guys going to come in for the slicks? He said, as soon as we possibly can.
All right, and we are inching closer to that de facto window opening up here. It's all based around trying to square the circle of having a different, problems for Lawrence, or is this just a pit stop? Is he in the window, Cal? Cal says yes. So no problems after all. And instead, this is the Dolomite team taking the first opportunity to get off the wet weather tires.
Yeah, as I said, if you come in 11, 12 minutes into this race, then the time on pit lane doesn't count towards your minimum drive time. Cam Lawrence can go back out, do a 65-minute stint, knock that out, and then do one more stop to the finish. Now, it looks like there's some debris in the radiator grill, so maybe that forced the issue a little bit, but it's not going to hurt them with potential strategy here. They're still on a 3-stop run to the checker.
He'll go on to a set of Saker Pirelli P0s now. Yeah, that's what I saw, and maybe some dirt on the side of the car, and I thought maybe he had been off track, but now I'm not so certain that's the case. I think this was simply the team making that strategy call.
You're just seeing the Georgia clay there when you get up and over the curbs. You've got to be careful of those painted curbs. You know, when it's wet, they're just like ice if you get up on those with the car loaded. If you're straight, not too bad. TC on these race cars, traction control that can help you out a little bit. But you got to be really careful. If you load the car on the painted surface on those curbs at exit, it can turn you around very quickly.
TR3 also in the pit lane.
Daniel Morad with his phone out, screen right there, taking a photo of the team going to action.
And Brayton Williams had his miscue earlier, so they've got a bit of a hill or a hole to dig out of now. Let's check back in here on the Pro-Am fight. Washington got by Coleman, but here comes Todd now. Maybe getting a bit more comfortable with the car in its current configuration. You don't get many chances to test in situations like this where you're on the wrong tire for the circumstances.
I know, but I'd be coming in. If I was one of these AM drivers, I'd be coming in because you're going to be able to knock out, and that's what they're doing. Yeah, you got to follow suit here, otherwise you could be on the back foot a little bit. Ooh, little nudge there with a 28. Getting to the tail end of Todd Coleman there. Martinez just missed his braking point a little bit.
Cal, am I reading this right? Who's this drive-through penalty going to? Is that car 6? 8. Okay, that's Michael McCann. Here it is. The car has set the fastest lap of the race, but evidently there was an incident at one point or another along the way.
I wonder if that was with Coleman. We saw Coleman drop a lot, and I think they were in the same kind of zip code at the time.
I think you might be onto something there. Wet weather tires coming off of the Ferrari of Matthias Perez Compact. On go the slicks. They waited one lap longer to make the change. Engine fire back up, but this car might be stationary for a little bit. Now they send the car. Now what happened for McCann to draw his penalty.
Oh, he got into Brayton Williams.
Okay. That answers that particular mystery. Interesting, Daskalos has stayed out. Stewart has stayed out at this point. Got Stevens in the pit lane. McCann is as well. They'll need to serve the penalty as well as get off of the tires.
Surprised that Rothberg has stayed out there. I mean, you're already seeing Cam Lawrence run lap times in the 125 range. This is a battle for position.
Right, these two have both taken the stops, and Lawrence has been able to work his way back around the Ferrari, back into the order they were running in prior to the pit stops.
Right now, wet weather tires still seem to be a little bit quicker. We're seeing 23s and 24s for the drivers that stayed out there versus 25s for Cam Lawrence and company who have gone to the slick tires. So maybe waiting an extra lap or two has really not done in relevance to getting to that 75-minute mandatory drive time as soon as possible, but just looking at the lap times more intensely and deciding we're not quite at that point where we're in deficit by staying on the wets.
Well, let's see what the lap times are once they get some heat in the tires. Remember, no tire warmers anymore. So let's see now that we've seen Lawrence on track for a couple of laps. What kind of lap did he turn in?
25.1 on that last lap.
It's still a ways off of, he did have some traffic, I suppose, but that's still quite a bit off of what Daskalos is still running.
I'm strictly amazed that you can run a wet weather tire at that sort of pace. It really makes me question whether everyone was on wets to begin with. I didn't think there was a 23 potential with a wet weather tire around this race circuit, to be honest with you.
That is an interesting question. It was either Amanda or Paul Sparta pointed out that they thought at least one other car might have started on dry tires. And Daskalos is the kind of guy who's willing to risk something like that. That car came to life really quickly, and I wonder if Slade Stewart and Riley rolled the dice too.
Yeah, I guess I may be wrong, but normally you're looking about 7-8 seconds crossover, and a really quick lap around here yesterday was a 1:19, and they've been running laps in the 23-24 range. So that really surprised me to be able to run that sort of pace on a wet weather tire here with high G loads.
Here's the Turner team, and Justin Rothberg has said enough's enough. Fuel going in and tires too for Turner Motorsport. So let's operate under our assumption that Daskalos and Stewart risked it and started on dries. DeBoer did the next best thing by pitting on the formation lap and making the switch then, and has cycled up to third.
Think about Daskalos' teammate, Philip Ellis. He's driven in mixed conditions hundreds of times.
Right.
And maybe he said, Jason, they let the ball go out on slicks. This is the call. You got to live with it for a few laps, and then it's going to come to you.
Well, it has, whatever the case, whatever they've done, it's worked. They run first and second, Daskalos and Stewart, and then DeBoer not too far behind in third place. But the pace is starting to pick up for those that have made the switch that we know of, including now Cameron Lawrence, who just did the best lap of the race, and he's trying to reel Mackay Stevens back in. This is down in 6th, 7th, and 8th overall. We don't have the full pit stop yet for the McCann car. I think they've only served the penalty, so they currently lead in pro.
But this is de facto for the lead in pro. Once everyone cycles through, this is going to be the lead 3 cars in pro. So this is a great run for the Dollarhide Racing team. I mean, the 34 car, it's been the dominant car of the year, but I really don't feel, despite their really great front row start yesterday, they haven't had that extreme pace, that advantage that we've really been displayed all season long. They seem to be a little bit closer to the pack. Now you see that Dollarhide Racing Mustang really closing in on Mackay.
I'd agree, based on practice times at least, that maybe they flattered to deceive slightly with the performance they put in qualifying, and that actually speaks volumes to what Mackay Stevens, Mikael Grenier and company can do, digging down and finding that little bit of pace, even if the car is not exactly where they want it to be.
All of the teams that pitted for slick tires also suffice the mandatory fuel stop time, which is 78 seconds on pit lane, so everyone's good to go with ticking one of the 3 boxes you have to do here today.
Lawrence getting closer now, looking very threatening in the mirrors of the Mercedes of Stevens, and it seems like he's backing them both up into the hard-charging Matias Perez Compank. Circuit Performance Race Vision powered by AWS, the Ferrari best in 2 of the sectors, but the middle sector belongs to the Mustang. That's the sector they just exited. Here comes Lawrence. He is right there. Stevens will guard the inside line. Here comes Lawrence now, trying to make his way around the outside, but Stevens is too late on the brakes.
Yeah, Stevens managed that really perfectly. Middle of the road early, being proactive in choosing your line, not reactive to Cam making a move. Perez Compact is just going to sit there in the shadows here and just watch these two duke it out. Cam Lawrence wants to get to the front. He wants to grab. As we said, it'll become the de facto pro class lead when everyone else hits pit lane.
Well, this will, as you say, become the de facto lead of the race here. Stevens showing the way in the pro class, but overall it's Jason Dascalos. Samantha, what can you tell us?
Well, I'm going to let Philip Ellis tell us, what decision did you guys make on tires?
Slicks for sure. Wasn't a doubt in my mind. Yeah.
Did you advise Jason on that?
More the team than Jason, and then when I saw Jason before he got in, I just let him know. Went around the track quickly just to see like some of the wet spots or the wetter spots. And yeah, just gave him, have fun. And I was pretty confident that it's the right decision as long as we survive the first 2 laps. Because obviously then we have a bit of a disadvantage versus the guys on rain tires that can just go full risk. But he did a great job and now is out in the lead and still pulling away.
Calvin, you absolutely called it.
Yeah, I just looked at the lap time saying this is making no sense to me that you can run a wet weather tire around a 123 and now 122 is his best lap of the day. So, yeah, they took the gamble. I think Philip Ellis would have been a strong voice in the room in terms of whether they make that decision at the start.
Hey, it's the right decision, but you still have to execute it. Dascalos did, especially those first few laps where it would have been quite treacherous, and Slade Stewart deserves all the plaudits as well. He took the same risks, and it has paid off in spades. Runs a solid 2nd overall right now. The interesting wrinkle, we'll talk about that in a second. This is a car fresh out of the pits. Jay Schreibman just made his first stop, the lone AM-class entry here this weekend, and that balked Stevens slightly, brings Lawrence a little bit closer here once again. The one thing, Cal, that I'm curious about is what does this do strategically? Because, okay, that top 3 overall, Dascalos, Stewart, and DeBoer, they've used the tire situation to get themselves track position, but their competition has burned one of the mandatory fuel stops, and they have not.
Yeah, so it's all going to come back in the direction. It really depends on the pace. So right now, Dascalos is running lap times at a 122.5. He's got track position over Stewart and DeBoer, of course, who run in 2nd and 3rd. They're running in the 23, mid-23s, high 23s. So I think in terms of their class, they're going to be fine. I think some of these pro cars that we're looking at right now will ultimately end up in front of them as you see further action. McCann Jr. finally pitting from the pro lead. Had to come down pit lane to serve that penalty for avoidable contact with the number 9 car earlier in the race.
Getting in. By the way, we have a time penalty to pass along for Kyle Washington.
They were on slicks too, by the way.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Kyle Washington, though, just barely under the minimum on that pit stop, so they'll have to stay stationary in the pits just over 5 seconds at their next pit stop.
Yeah, which means they were, what, 0.5 underneath the number.
Now, this becomes 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the pro class. Stevens, Lawrence, Perez Compact. Now, where will McCann cycle through vis-a-vis Rothberg? Really hasn't gone Turner's way, at least with the way that the opening 24 minutes or so have gone in this race.
Yeah, just to get back to that penalty, anything that you're underneath the minimum time on pit lane is multiplied by 10. You have a 2-second basically joker where you don't immediately get a drive through to work with, so just a little bit shy on that. I'm sure Carter was up on the wheel, and drama down here at the chicane.
That's Therese Lalu in the gravel trap. There were a couple other cars that were in the shot briefly. This is right in front of this battle for the pro class lead.
Quick decision determination if the car is okay. Pit entry is right there to driver's right, and she's decided that it wasn't a big enough hit. Continues along her way.
I think Todd Perriott was the other car that was in the vicinity. Don't know if there was any contact. We only caught the end of it. But we might be able to show you just what happened. Here comes Todd. Late lunge to the inside, and no room for Therese to turn in.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the race director will think about that. We'll wait for that decision, but obviously that forced her off the racetrack. A little bit of delay, just committed down to the inside, got into that puddle up and over the curb as well. So minor hit. Hopefully there's no damage to either one, suspension or bodywork, to create issues deeper in the race. But up front in the pro class, currently 4th, 5th, and 6th overall. And here comes the Dollar Height Mustang to the inside. Watch out for that Ferrari. They're going to get a big run there on the launch off at turn 7.
Yeah, both the Mercedes and the Mustang were compromised. Didn't seem like that was the case for Matthias Perez Compact, and he's got 2 cars to slipstream off of on this long run down the backstretch into turns 10A and 10B. Lawrence has been able to make the move around the Mercedes of Stevens, and Mackay now has to play some more defense because Compact is there.
Yeah, power move there by that Ford Mustang. Cam Lawrence wanted the lead. He's doing a great job behind the wheel, but he had that extra little bit of power. Used the draft nicely and just gets to the alongside and clears him before he gets on the brake pedal.
What a start to this race from the Dollar Height Racing team. By their own admission, they were on the back foot, tried something in the opening test session that didn't go their way earlier in the week, and they had to completely reverse course on what they thought might work based on time spent in the simulator, in spite of what was effectively a lost session, Calvin. Here they find themselves with a car that's very much in the window.
Yeah, and they talked about it. Wet conditions may put it into their window, and maybe with the rain it's washed the racetrack a little bit, doesn't have as much grip. So again, that will benefit a softer setup on a race car initially. But this racetrack is going to get quicker, it's going to rubber in. We get more and more cars circulating here since that dampness and the start of this race.
Perez Compact has been the fastest guy on the track so far today. Did a 21.8 not so long ago. That's 0.3 quicker than Mackay Stevens. Right now, the overall leader is Jason Daskalos, JMF Motorsports Mercedes. This is the sister car to Mackay Stevens' Pro Class entry. This car started on slicks in damp conditions and has reaped the benefits. Slade Stewart, similar story, runs 11 seconds behind in 2nd place. And then 3rd place overall, Derek DeBoer from Random Vandals Racing, which made the pit stop during the formation laps to make the switch from wets to dries.
Just to put into context what sort of performance Jason Daskalos is doing as an AM in a Pro-Am lineup, he just ran a 122.5, which compares very, very nicely against the fastest lap of this race by Perez Compact at a 121.8. So he's up on the wheel, doing a great job. He just needs a nice, clean run here, knock out his drive time, and give it to a boy who can absolutely wrestle speed out of one of these Mercedes. Great to see Phil Ellis back in the paddock.
Wouldn't it be something if Philip Ellis comes back for one more race and gets back to victory lane in his little moonlight appearance? Still a long way to go to get there. We talked about Slade Stewart in 2nd. Amanda, by the way, just confirmed to me that indeed they did start on the slicks. And here is Slade right now, giving that car a nice ride, currently holding down 2nd place.
Yeah, he did a really nice job, and I think we saw him catching Daskalos, and I think he started to lean on his tires a little bit earlier on the slicks in the damp racetrack, and then Daskalos finally got his tires up to temp and started to stretch it a little bit, but Slade has done an awesome job here. They had a tough year. The Riley's Technologies group have really worked hard to get this BMW up to speed, and Slade has done an awesome opening stint here. He runs 1 lap ahead right now of the following number 29 car of Justin Rothberg.
Comes out of primarily Super Trofeo racing. They don't run here at Road Atlanta typically, so I don't know how much seat time Slade has at this track. This is Derek DeBoer.
Just to put in perspective, when we talk about being 1 lap ahead, remember the lap time right now is right around 82 seconds. Your time on pit lane is 78, so that's really equivalent to that 1 lap that we're looking at, the deficit that the Turner Motorsport Group is in, because Slade Stewart started on those slick tires and hasn't hit pit lane yet.
He is now, though. What do you make of this strategy call, basically splitting the difference on this stint for Slade?
I think so. Yeah, you're not running the tires too long on the same set, so you're doing a 30-minute stint. He's got to be out there another, 36 minutes to suffice the 75-minute minimum drive time, so really solid start. They've also got the option of throwing the co-driver in early, and let's wait and see what they do if they keep Slade on board.
Amanda, what can you see from near spot in the pits?
No co-driver going as Andy Lee is still sitting up there at top overlooking this. They are going to go ahead and take advantage of putting those qualifying tires onto this Sparkle Parts BMW, as you see the fuel going in as well for this stop on the 14. But what a start for those guys. When I confirmed on the slick tires start, Andy gave a big thumbs up.
got a lot to be proud of. He's been working with Slade for quite a few years now, at least back to 2023. Slade won a Super Trofeo Championship the year before, driving as a solo driver. This has been a big step for them and gotten better with each passing weekend. Best finish so far, 5th at Circuit of the Americas. Derek DeMore on that rev limiter, just waiting to be told to go, chomping at the bit.
Yeah, the servicing and everything else can be done way ahead of that minimum stop time, so you got to be patient there, otherwise you're going to be shy of that. And we've seen one team already a few tenths shy of that today. Frank Depew here, I think for the locally based, well, not the down locally based to Sebring, but certainly Rob Nadell has had a ton of time here at Road Atlanta. Spoke to him at length the other day. Really feel that they're starting to get to grips with that Aston Martin. He said Frank does a great job. I mean, Frank's nearly 70 years old. I'll tell you what, to wrestle one of these GT3 machines around this racetrack on a cool day is something, but in the heat and conditions we're dealing with this weekend, that is really a testimony to the work he's done off the racetrack as well in terms of being as fit as he is at his age.
Surely has good pace there, because this hasn't been easy for some of the front runners in the Pro class to get by. Right now, Ty Stevens bottled up, able finally to get to the inside of that Aston, and Compact follows him through.
Yeah, Cameron Lawrence has disappeared a little bit, so he now runs in P2 overall. Daslow staying out there as the Pro-Am and overall leader, but Cameron Lawrence has now gapped Mackay Stevens by about 4 seconds. So that Mustang is absolutely flying, and they are setting the stage for what could be a really big day for that group.
Extending the stint here for Jason Dascalos, what does this do for them strategically?
Well, you're looking at a 3-stop way, however you cut up the cake. So for Jason Dascalos, it's all about knocking out his minimum drive time of 75 minutes and then allowing 2 pretty lengthy stints for his much more experienced teammate, Philip Ellis. So there's all sorts of strategy they can use. We saw it just a moment ago, the team coming in relatively early, about 30 minutes on a stint of the tires. So you can kind of do it that way, where you're giving your driver, you know, shorter stints on the same set of tires. So maybe they're going to have a little bit more speed because of that. You've also got Dascalos out front, so he's going to stay out there, maybe go all the way towards the end of the maximum stint time of 65 minutes, then do a short one. But I would suspect they'll try and break up a little bit. That would be my best guess.
How many cars in his class does he have trapped a lap down right now? Is it basically all of them?
Yeah, essentially, I think the full field is a lap down on Jason Dascalos right now.
So if he extends this stint, they catch a yellow, he can pit from the lead, and he would retain that lead. It would be my understanding.
Yeah, let me see. Time and scoring just cycling here. We'll just wait for some of the Pro-Am runners to come through. And again, a stint and at the end of that coming in and pit lane.
Well, he's in now.
There we go. Answers the question.
Yep. Makes the rest of that academic. Here comes Jason Dascalos. Just over 30 minutes gone by. Already, strategists are working overtime down in the pits.
He's basically doing an even split, 33 minutes on this stint. He does another 33 minutes when he leaves pit lane to suffice the 75-minute minimum drive time for each driver.
Big pit stop here for the JMF team. Make sure they execute this. If they take care of their business, he should come out in a really favorable position in the Pro-Am class. And they're going to work now, putting on a set of sticker tires.
I think the pace of the pro cars there in the 21 range, I mean, Jason's best out of the 22.5. That's going to put the pro cars towards the head of the pack here after this pit stop cycle. He's putting stickers on, as you can see.
Yep, that means brand new tires. Still have the stickers that the factory puts on the tire out of the mold. That will wear off as he tears around the racetrack. That's the overall lead changing hands now. Cameron Lawrence comes through along with the rest of the pro class front runners, but
I think Dascalos will keep the lead in Pro-Am. He had most of that field a lap down, so he's going to be in pretty good shape there. Slade Stewart will still be second.
Here he comes. Now the question is just how far back is Slade Stewart? It was a pretty healthy lead before this cycle for these two teams. The teams on this strategy began a couple of laps ago.
And real key is on those sticker tires. It's very warm and the racetrack temp is building quickly, so shouldn't take him too many corners to get some energy in those, but it's going to be similar to the start of this race. You got to tread carefully, don't make a mistake. They've got a really strong car. You've got an awesome teammate this weekend. Not that Logan Hannafin was any slouch either. He could have got the job done. It's just a great strategy call by the team today.
Looking there at John Gilliland in his Porsche, currently down the order a little bit. Now we check in. Here's Slade Stewart. How far behind Daskalos does he find himself? He also finds himself embroiled in a battle with Rothberg. This would be for a top 5 position overall if Justin could get by.
Yeah, we'll wait for the next timing split here, but I think it's maybe about 20 seconds deficit to Daskalos. Daskalos going to be a little bit slower on this lap compared to Slade Stewart because he has temperature in the pink BMW.
And this has worked fairly well for Random Vandals as well. Derek DeBoer up to 4th in class. Had qualified 9th, so that's a gain of 5. Didn't quite play it as perfectly as the JMF and Riley teams, but still made that call on the formation lap to change their plan, and they've benefited from their quick thinking.
Yeah, we see Rothberg here just sitting in the shadows, literally identical race cars, of course, the 2 BMWs circulating together. I mean, as we said, he's a lap down, but when Slade Stewart has to hit pit lane.
As you can see, everyone has taken their pit stop. A couple of cars show as 2, but those are drive-through penalties that were served earlier for the McCann Porsche, as well as Todd Perriott in his Porsche down in 19th.
We said before, just to clarify what I was saying there, I mean, we saw Rothberg a lap down and went after the pit stop, and then he's almost in an identical position and finally makes that move down into turn 6. So different class cars. Maybe that call was made by Bill Riley on the box there. Just let him go. Don't get in a big fight here. We've got a really solid podium run going, and that's a pro class car.
Puts Rothberg back into the top 5 overall. This is a fight for position here. Derek DeBoer is about to have his hands full with Todd Coleman, who in the dry has been remarkably fast. It's now in those dry conditions. He didn't love the car on the wet tires in the dry, but now he's got the slicks on and he's got his head down. Target acquired.
Yeah, P5 in class right now. He's got a really fast race car. Just ran his personal best through Sector 2. Sector 1, excuse me. He's now completing Sector 2. Another really solid run through there. The team that's had great performance this year, great speed in that McLaren, had a fuel fitting issue at Sebring. When Aaron was on board, he said he could smell fuel after a pit stop, which is not extraordinary in terms of sometimes you get a bit of spillage there when they take the probe out of the race car. But he said it continued. Then he looked over and he could just see it spurting inside the cockpit, and he said the fumes immediately were making him dizzy, so he had to literally park it on race track versus getting back to pit lane.
Painful to do it, though, on a weekend in which they had shown good speed, good promise. Frankly, that's the way the whole season has gone. You look at the results, a 10th, a 13th, and a 14th, just 1 point through the first 3 races for Coleman and Tielitz, and you think, well, this has been a disastrous season, and in some respects it has, because ultimately you need to score points to have a championship bid, but it really doesn't tell the full story. They've been podium contenders in each of the first 3 races.
Yeah, it's like playing golf and you've had 3 or 4 triple bogies, and the scorecard really doesn't tell the tale. You've been hitting it well, but the results haven't been there.
Speaking from experience?
Yes.
Well, me too. I kid because I care. And yeah, that is all too relatable. But maybe this is the weekend that for Archangel, it all comes up their way. They certainly have the confidence. You alluded to it earlier. I have rarely had a race car driver tell me with as much confidence as Aaron T. Woods told us, yeah, we think this is going to be a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, he was pretty effusive in his praise of the balance of that race car. Take a look at this racetrack. Come up the hill there. Your minimum speed is about 105 miles an hour as you then climb the hill at about 130, coming down a couple of gears, and then another really fast sector here is between turn 5 and 6, about 140 miles an hour approach speed here. Down at 3rd gear, whistle it through, just quick squirt on the gas, and then really slow things down. Patience, patience, patience will give you big dividends coming off of this corner.
Zachary Vanier's got it pretty well figured out. turned in the race's fastest lap not so long ago at a 1:21.5. No one else has done better than a 21.8 as far as I can tell. Really talented young driver. Big opportunity for him, but for this team, yes, they have pedigree racing at a high level in what is now SRO America. It's been a while. This is a big test for them to step out of single-make Porsche racing and into a multi-manufacturer environment like this. This has become an increasingly professional paddock. That said, I think they've done a pretty good job to get some results here and there. Finished on the podium at Circuit of the Americas, and Vanier showing his quality at the moment.
Yeah, he really is. It's a really great little team, and there's such great chemistry between the two drivers. They're almost become like a family, and it's great to see them doing a great job here today. Had that bump and run, unfortunately, so drive-through penalty has cost them a little bit of time and track position, but nonetheless, it looks like they got great speed. If they get a yellow here and a compression in this field, they could be in the shout of a podium.
Two cars that have been in that position already this year. Kyle Washington in the eBoost Porsche, primarily black with the multicolored eBoost cans on the car. And then I don't know what you would say is the predominant color for Dave Musial Jr., but that's the second Porsche in the shot.
They threw the pallet at the wall on that one, didn't they? That's exciting. It's really cool to see all of these teams get innovative with their color schemes, and obviously we live in the world of wraps versus paint on race cars, so it enables them to do these crazy things.
Interesting here, the ebb and flow between these two cars. 3 laps ago, it was 0.4 of a second to the good for Musial. Then Washington answered back 0.5 of a second back his way, and then effectively equal last lap.
Saw Kyle this morning, and he said, boy, it's going to be a long day. He had a GT America race to go and run, and then obviously a double stint here. And he said, I was struggling yesterday, and Saturday afternoon the conditions were a little bit more extreme after a 40-minute run. So he said, this is going to be a long day, and I think that rain shower and the little bit cooler conditions to start this race, and you're not really pushing as hard physically when the racetrack's a little bit slicker, would probably help the course here today.
These two cars have split the 3 races so far this season in terms of race wins in the Pro-Am class. 2 wins to Washington and Sargent, but the COTA win is a little feather in the cap for Musial and Yardley. Not just a class win, they won that race overall as well.
Yeah, that was a huge day for that group, really making a great call and getting a couple of cars there up in the big points.
They are first and second in points as well, as you might imagine. 7 points between the two squads. Not used to finding themselves, though, fighting down for the minor points paying positions as they are at the moment. Washington in 7th, Musial in 8th in Pro-Am.
Really cool to see both halves of the driver pairing so evenly matched, right? We've got Kyle out there going up against Dave, and then you know that Tom Sargent and Ryan Yardley are going to be pretty equally matched as well, so it makes it a lot of fun.
That's a neat matchup head-to-head as well when you consider they have very similar stories. In many ways, Ryan Yardley is following in the tire tracks of Tom Sargent, who had done what he could accomplish back home in Australia, came stateside and was given a great opportunity with GMG. And now Yardley following in his path, won a Carrera Cup title, and is busy this year racing GT4 and GT3. Now, Jason Daskalos continues to lead in that Pro-Am class. Let's go on board with him now, Calvin. Got a little traffic out that windscreen.
They head down this back stretch, terminal speed. Maybe the Ford and BMW probably hitting 160 plus, probably close to that in a Mercedes. We saw Mackay Stevens not quite at the speed of the Ford. Down the back straightaway. Down to second gear, short shift up to third. Flat out under the bridge. Should be flat through 12, sounds like it is. You're going to hit about 155 here before you slow things down again. Want to get right to that apex. Seems to be a lot more grip if you get that right front really close to the apex. Really tricky brake zone here. You get a lot of that curve on the right-hand side, turn 3. Typically a little lift right through there just to keep the front end tracking in the right direction without overloading that left front.
What did you make of how that car seems to be handling, looking at Jason's wheel inputs.
It looked really good, looked really solid, and he's got to be really enjoying this, but this is, that was not great. Gilliland really not doing him any favors there, and we've seen that with Gilliland before. He likes to get his elbows out a little bit.
And this is to stay on the lead lap in class, so there is a reason he's fighting hard. If he could stay ahead and a full course yellow came out, he could be eligible for the wave by if he was trapped behind the safety car but ahead of his class leader. He falls behind his class leader, and now he's stuck potentially a lap down.
Battle here for P6 overall between the Pro-Am car of Slade Stewart and Zach Venue. Still holds down that fastest lap of the race at 121.599. Lights flashing, but it seems like that BMW is disappearing from him a little bit down the straightaway.
It's the beauty of GT racing, though. Just looking at these cars, you can tell they're going to have different strengths and weaknesses, different body shapes, different engine placement too. Rear engine in the Porsche, front engine in the BMW. Certain parts of the track is going to favor one or the other, but you just hope it evens out over the course of a full lap. Stewart got a little bit wide there. That opened the door. Vanier needed no second invitation. He pushed his way through.
Yeah, Vanier all over the back of him in his side view mirrors, in that rear view facing camera as well, I'm sure. And it looked like Slade just missed his marks a little bit in terms of the turning point for turn one. And you've got to have really consciousness there to recognize you're on the wrong radius. You just got to give up the speed. You get the compression as you exit turn one, but if it's mid-corner, you can go for a ride really quickly.
Let's keep an eye on Vanier. That is, again, the car with the fastest lap of the race. He's been moving pretty quickly and is only 7 or so seconds behind Justin Rothberg. Let's monitor that over the next 10, 15 minutes and see if he can make some inroads. We just saw Rothberg come through the shot a moment ago, and this is Vanier chasing him down.
Remember, they've been in the pits twice because they had to serve that drive-through penalty. It's a 38-second transition time, which probably delta-wise, I would guess, 25 to 30 in terms of the net loss to someone staying on the racetrack. So it'd be even further down the road with that bump and run on the blue Mercedes.
That cost both of those cars dearly. Brayton Williams, driver of the blue Mercedes in question, was tipped around. That, as we said, penalty issued for that contact. But Williams was tipped out of a pretty high up spot. Not exactly sure where he would have ended up because of the differing strategies we have in Pro-Am, but he certainly would have been, I suspect, around the top 5, if not higher. Instead, he's done well to recover, but finds himself in 6th right now.
The battle is not going anyway. Cam Lawrence has cleared off a little bit to the tune of about 5.5 seconds in the Dollarhide Racing Ford Mustang up front, leading class and overall. This is a great little battle here between Mackay Stevens and Perez Companc. Schandorf has been really quick aboard this blue Ferrari as well this weekend, so it's going to be a fascinating battle between the pros here late in the going.
Always is. And you say the pros, well, you'd say, okay, it's the pro class, what's the difference? But it is something unique to GT World Challenge America that you are required to carry a silver graded driver as part of your driver lineup. And in all the cases here, in these two cars at least, it is the two silvers that are in the car right now.
Times right now. I'm just trying to figure out how far we need to go here before we get to that 75-minute drive time. You need to be about 77 minutes into this race, so 11, 17, probably about 28 minutes away from when they'll suffice that 75 minutes minimum drive time. And there's the option to pit as early as you get to that point, and then do a one more start for your second driver.
Talked about the differences between the cars. We were looking first at a BMW and a Porsche. How about the big old front engine on the Mercedes versus the mid-engine in the Ferrari? And yet, despite the obvious differences, they're about as evenly matched as you could ask for. Here's a look at the fastest laps of the race so far. Vanier has the honors. Companc's second quickest. Cameron Lawrence, Rothberg, Stevens, the top 5.
That's a really solid lap for Justin and Rothberg there. I'm really impressed with that. Just 4/10 off the fastest lap of the day. Those sort of numbers will really work for Turner Motorsports to go to town here in terms of getting some big points here for the championship, because we know how quick Robbie Foley is. He was the fastest driver here in both qualifying sessions yesterday and combined aggregate. Oh, Mackay Stevens, big ride over the bump there on the exit turn 5. Had to crack the throttle and compact bounces.
Wasn't offline by much, but it was enough to catch that curb and bounce that car up in the air. Cost him a ton of momentum.
That sounded really rough.
It did.
So again, you know, you don't typically see mistakes by Mackay, and I just wonder how dialed in the Mercedes is this weekend. It's been there or thereabouts, but I really felt coming in, looking at qualifying, looking at practice, they really went towards the top. They came good in qualifying, a couple of decent laps there, but you know, we expect them to have a little bit more edge, so maybe they just missed it here a little bit.
The build-up to qualifying, the Ferrari seemed to be, this Ferrari in particular, seemed to be the car that everyone was chasing. The fly in the ointment, though, was that lap that Robbie Foley threw in that really showcased the potential out of that BMW. What was all the more impressive about it, you said that was the first time Robbie had been on sticker tires all weekend?
Yeah, they did a couple of days testing about 2 weeks ago, so that really put them in great shape. I mean, they know this racetrack well. They run it year on, year out, obviously, at Petit Le Mans. But nonetheless, I think they really found something, really came away from the test feeling pretty confident, and they just really focused on race trim and things like that, and elected to save the tires and then give Robbie the run in qualifying. He said he got a lot out of it. He wasn't quite sure where the threshold was, but that's what a great pro can do, is when they are in that mode, but they still manage to get the job done.
This is shaping up to be the best drive of the season for Matías Pérez Compang, and he had a first row seat for this moment from Mackay Stevens, Cal.
Let's take a look here. He's up on the curb a little bit too much there. I think that throws him a little off kilter. Then he eats the inside curb. And then right there, he cracks the throttle. He could recognize there he's about to lose the racecraft. He just hung with it so easy to just spit it off to the left-hand side and just stay in the power. And that allowed the Ferrari to run.
Mackay will put his head down and try and get back in the rhythm. However, that mistake is proving costly, because now that Pérez Compang is around, he is starting to pull away slightly. Do have some traffic to contend with. That Porsche up ahead, who would that
Michael
be?
Clark,
yes. That's the 9th placed car in Pro-Am, 14th overall.
Here's that car with Colin Brown. Actually did a broadcast with Colin last weekend, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, a spin here. This is Perriot again, who's been in the wars. Todd looks like he's been able to keep it off the wall. That's the good news.
I don't recall, did he get a penalty for that bump?
He must have, because that was one of the 2 cars that was shown as having been in the pits twice.
Okay.
So my supposition is that one of those trips to the pits was a drive-through. If I'm wrong, apologies to Todd, but I think that is the case.
Got the gaps here. Cam Lawrence leads to the tune of nearly 7 seconds. Pérez Compang, and the Ferrari's kind of taken off a little bit. Now he's cleared the Mercedes that was sitting in front of him for the majority of this race so far. That just really sets the stage a little bit better for Freddie Shandorf to jump on board the AF Corsa USA Ferrari and do what he does, which is absolutely wrestle big speed out of it.
Yeah, he is rapid and has been super quick this weekend. So Vanier is starting to close in on Justin Rothberg. He's narrowed that gap slightly. Let's hear from his co-driver now, who's with Amanda.
And Michael, Zach looking sporty out there, the Porsche looking sporty. You guys started on slicks. How do you assess where the team is right now?
Yeah, no, I think we're doing pretty good. Start of the race was a little dicey on slicks, minus the first 3 or 4 laps. I think once everything kind of started to come together, we're starting to kind of show our pace here, which is good. So hopefully we stay out of trouble, keep the pace up, and we'll be good.
Good to hear from him there. We've got a full course yellow, and you could hear he had to run too, because this could be that team making another driver change. They're, I think, the only team that's done one so far in this race. Not sure what the full course yellow is for just yet, but this will erase all of those gaps and What does this do to the strategy here, Calvin?
Well, I think it's probably a big help for someone like Turner Motorsport because they were 37 seconds back of the Pro Class leader, so it's going to put them in great shape. We're still not at the point where the drivers who started the race could get out now and have sufficed the 75 minutes. We're obviously at 55 right now, so there's a bit of time left to play out. So there's some options. Obviously, if you're at the back of the pack, there's some options to do a top-up and things like that. But if you take any fuel, you got to be on the pit lane for 78 seconds, so we'll see what develops here.
Well, it erases a lead that was up over 8 seconds for Cameron Lawrence, and it brings Paris Compact back into the mix as Stevens close in again. Looks like we had a couple of cars stopped on track, so I'm going to surmise that could have something to do with this yellow. JP Martinez and Derek DeBoer.
Looking at the clock, just over an hour. Now, maximum stint time is 65 minutes. So if you stopped right now, you could do a fuel, your mandatory fuel load and stop time, and do it on one more to the finish. So there is an option to play, but if you got a driver in, he's going to have to, you know, go a lot deeper into the race to be able to suffice the mandatory 75 minutes. There's a lot of calculations here, but there's definitely potential here for someone to come into pit lane.
Closing in on 1 hour complete. And this race has thrown a little bit of everything at us from a strategic perspective. If you're just joining us, it was wet on track, but the rain had stopped by the time the green flag came out. Most of the field started on wet weather tires. A few gambled and started on slicks, and that seems to have been the right choice. But that has put several different strategies into motion. And that continues now potentially here with a few different branching options you can choose from at this stage.
Yeah, you're a bit stymied because, you know, if you stop right now, you got to keep your first driver in. Do you know what I mean? And then if you kept him in for a full stint, it wouldn't allow the second driver to do a full stint length as well. Now we see the damage on the RS1 machine.
Yeah, that's JP Martinez, always such a happy character, loves his racing, loving this opportunity, but this will be immensely frustrating. Derek DeBoer's car also just got a glimpse of that down in the gravel trap, and those two seem to have come together in a big way.
They do. We actually saw both those drivers at dinner last evening at the same restaurant with their families and stuff, not eating together, but that's not great.
Both were really excited about the prospects of what this day held in store. Derek reminded me that a year ago at this time, the two of us were having a chat on the grid at Le Mans. He's taken his career back stateside and is really loving his return to the SRO America paddock. And for JP, you know, he and Jan Halen, they put together some pretty good results and actually, you know, came in third in points, only 14 out of the championship lead. There's Derek, happy to see a smile on his face, even if it is a wry one. And Martinez a bit more despondent. Both of them, though, taking a seat in the medical car. This is what happened, Calvin.
Oh, wow.
Ugh.
That was wild. I mean, yeah, I mean, Martinez changed his line a little bit. I'm not sure if he's just on the brakes a lot harder. Right on board. Here we go. That's a tough one to figure out exactly what happened there. I mean, yes, Martinez moved a little bit more to the right, but there wasn't an open lane for Derek to take that sort of speed and leave his braking as late as he was probably thinking about. So I'm not sure whether just having that car so directly in front of him made him miss his marks a little bit.
2 straight DNFs now for random vandals. Means we don't get a chance to see Hampus Eriksson, younger brother of Marcus. Very nearly won an IndyCar race a couple of weeks ago, did Marcus. At the oval just outside of St. Louis.
It's a weird one because it wasn't like Martinez took away a complete lane. So there was nowhere for Derek to go on that right-hand side, even though Martinez did move a little bit over to the right.
Well, race control will look at it, and even though those two cars are clearly done for the day, any penalties that would have been issued otherwise still will be issued, and any reprimands that need to be made will be. before the next round of the championship, which is not until the end of August, and a trip up to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin in Road America. Pits are open now. They hadn't been yet. We just got through the wave-by procedure, which again is there to make sure the overall battle for the lead doesn't affect the lower class cars. And here comes the McCann car. Again, they're the only ones that have done a driver change, and I wonder if this plays into that.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, also what you can do a stop here, not get one of your mandatory fuel stops, which is a much lengthier one. And even if you got a driver who has to stay in, obviously they're on a different strategy by single stinting their drivers. There's an option there to then you got to do an initial stop. It's just going to be a quick change of drivers. You don't have to be on pit lane as long. So it's very complicated, but yeah, there's definitely some options playing out here. Makes sense for the leaders to stay out and just stick to the original plan.
This works for them because they were down at the bottom of their class anyway. You don't lose any class track position. So this is a chance to do something slightly different. Bit more puzzling for TR3 to elect to come in here because they were up in a decent position when they decided to come in. I think just around the top 5 in class when they peeled off. And Brayton Williams has done all of the driving so far in that car. What do you make of that choice?
Well, again, I think what it allows you to do, you got 2 more stops to get to the finish, but one of those stops is going to be as quick as you want to make it. You're not going to have to take fuel. So they've knocked out 2 mandatory fuel stops now.
Sure.
2 more stops to the finish. Only one has to be of the length of everyone else. So the other one will be much shorter.
Okay, let's file that away for later reference. Unfortunate end of the day for RS1. Amanda, let's hear from Jan Halen, who unfortunately doesn't get a chance to drive today.
Yeah, I was able to track down Jan before the team leaves here on pit lane, and you've been pretty silent. I know you did take a look at the replay. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think that we, that we did anything wrong there. Looks like the 99 was a little aggressive and maybe not driving with the bigger picture in mind. So yeah, it's too bad. This has big implications for us on the championship. So very disappointing, but. Yeah, up to the next one.
We have a little bit of a break before Road America. Time to maybe digest this one. How do you guys go into that with approach?
I mean, nothing changes. I mean, this is in this championship, you cannot afford weekends like this because of how the points structure is. So I think we've done a really good job this year. Just with that approach and thinking about the championship, every session, every race, and yeah, clearly the car behind us was not doing that. So
both Calvin and Ryan were being very complimentary of what this team has put together as we enter into this 4th weekend of the series. What impresses you about JP Martinez?
Yeah, he's been super solid. Like really for the amount of experience he has, or the lack thereof in a GT3 car and in a championship like this, he's done a really, really good job, and he hasn't really put a foot wrong all year, and has always brought the car back in one piece in a good position, and that's what's given us a podium every race so far.
Thank you to Jan Halen, still with the cool suit on, maybe calming down some of the anger.
Yeah, not just cooling down the body temperature, but cooling down the emotions as well. Very philosophical, though, in his answers to Amanda's questions. I suppose the only good news for them is a lot of the other championship front runners, at least to this point, aren't having super days. Washington and Sargent run 4th. Musial and Yardley are 5th. And if it finished as it stands, I think Martinez and Halen would maintain 3rd in the championship, but would drop further behind, of course, and still a lot can change between now and the checkered flag. Here's another strategic play, I would assume. Calvin, Kelly Moss calling Michael Clark in.
Yeah, I think same thing. Basically knock out one of your fuel stops, which are a lot longer, so they've got to do 2 more stops to get to the finish, but one will just be a quick driver change, splash of fuel, and no splash of fuel, and just send them.
Okay. Any reason why they would wait an extra lap to do that relative to the 2 that just came in?
No, not really, unless it just took them a bit of a while to really think about the option. It's not like they got a wave by or anything.
They might have, actually. That
Really?
could have been it. Yeah, there was a wave by process, and maybe they were still catching up. That could have been it.
Okay, I thought they were at the tail end of the pack, but maybe if they were trapped between their class leader and the safety car, they would have got that wave by.
Yeah, I think that could have been the case. In any event, it drops them down to the final car on the lead lap, puts them 8th in class, 13th overall. This is a team that kind of do what they want to do, running unopposed here this weekend. Jay Schreibman will bring his AF Corsa Ferrari in, and he's got some company. Dave Musial Jr. also will pit here.
Just maybe that the length of time that it's taken to clean up has given these teams food for thought here. And again, just mandatory fuel stop, takes 78 seconds. Anything else, just a driver change to reset the driver stint length. You can basically do that with just a stop in your pit box and go.
Wright Motorsports, team that has executed and won big races at a really high level for a long time. Having trouble with the air gun there. I suppose if you're going to have that problem, this is the pit stop to have it on, when you won't be losing any ground to anybody on the lane. Seems to have figured out whatever the problem was. That's a sad sight, seeing Gizmo the raccoon, the mascot for Random Vandals, who's on the car, of course, getting carted away. Happy, though, that it looked like Derek DeBoer and JP Martinez both walked to the medical car under their own power. That was a big impact down at
It was
turn 10.
massive hit, 160 miles an hour or thereabouts to have that sort of impact. You could see the damage to the Porsche, and obviously the BMW doesn't look good either. So again, Jan said he believes that Derek made a mistake. Love to talk to Derek and just see from his perspective, but definitely seemed to me like, you know, to take that much speed in without a lane clear in front of you. If the lane was open and you thought, I'm going to brake late and try and cut to the outside, that's one thing, but I don't think there ever was a full lane to go through. And I think obviously with Martinez moving a little bit just made the situation even worse. And Derek tried to flick back to the inside, and too late, game over.
Yes, neither car will see the checker flag here today. They'll finish 12th and 13th in class, 18th and 19th overall. Martinez ahead of DeBoer, but that's of little consolation. Both of those positions pay 0 points.
Yeah, so for Daskalos, certainly he's lost a lot of that Pro-Am lead that he had. Certainly Cam Lawrence has, but there's others who are going to benefit from that. I really think that for the Archangel Motorsports Group, it's got Todd Coleman right there in P3, right up behind Slade Stewart. Now there you see that car warming its tires up. They're cleaning them off more than warming them, I think, on a day like today. But also for Justin Rothberg, he's got that Turner Motorsports car really close to the pack again, and we've seen the speed of his teammate Robbie Foley, so they're suddenly back in good shape.
Yes, on the restart, I have my eye on Todd Coleman right behind Slade Stewart. And again, that car has been so fast in the dry. Todd was the quickest AM in the Pro-Am cars in his segment of qualifying, and then Tielitz did his part to put in a qualifying effort that saw them line up 4th overall outside of the 2nd row. And you can't do that as a Pro-Am entry if your AM doesn't rise to the occasion. Look on the screen here at the number of pit stops each of these cars have already notched off. And again, that can be a bit misleading. Some of those could just be drive-throughs.
Yeah, I think McCann Jr., obviously, there's a drive-through penalty, and they've done 2 mandatory fuel stops, I think, for Williams, Clark, Musial, Parriott, Schreeman. Martinez is out, so we can not factor that in. I think they've done that 2nd mandatory fuel stops. That means all of these cars have got 2 more stops to tick all of the boxes, but for majority that you see on the board, they were just 1. They got to do 2 full stops, which means 78 seconds on pit lane each time.
And there you see those boxes that need to be checked. 3-hour race, 65-minute maximum stint, minimum total drive, 75 minutes, and that fuel stop time, 78 seconds. That means anytime you put any fuel at all into the car, you must be in the pit lane for 78 seconds.
Yeah, and Cam Lawrence is about 9 minutes away from that maximum stint time, which will also give him the minimal total drive time as well. So look for that car to be in here within the next 6 laps or so.
Safety car has accelerated off, and we'll see the green flag with Cameron Lawrence leading the way in the Dollarhide Racing Ford Mustang. There's the green flag once again. We're back racing in Road Atlanta. Matthias Perez-Companc in the Ferrari trying to give chase. It was a pretty good restart from Stevens, though, who might challenge for the second spot. Meanwhile, Slade Stewart to the inside of the lapped car of Frank Depew, and how about that move from McCann? High, wide, and handsome around the outside.
Yeah, making some moves again. They pitted, so they're coming through the pack again. So they've got great speed in that Porsche. Got to deal with that traffic right now.
He's tucked up behind the Aston of Depew. Needs to be patient here. Not a part of the track it's easy to go side by side in. Settles in line, just looking for that opportunity to pounce.
Just looking to launch it there, and it looks like he got to the right-hand side of Frank. That's not going to make it easy as they come off that corner. No, he doesn't clear him, and that gives Washington a run.
Yeah, McCann might have to give up one of those hard-earned spots. Depew does give a wide berth there to McCann. Therese Lalu mixing it up with Kyle Washington. She dives to the inside. And also right there in the mix is Brayton Williams in the TR3 Mercedes.
This is also battling here deep in the pack. Great performance here. Frank Depew is hanging tough.
I was wondering how Therese Lalu got that track position, and there's your answer. Improper passing around, and that's going to be a massive penalty. Stop plus 2 minutes and 42 seconds.
Wow. It's basically 2 laps. You give him back the lap plus 1 more.
Washington just lost a spot to Williams there. Trying to negotiate all of this lap traffic. Also have a penalty handed down. Just to let you know, the stewards saw that Derek DeBoer incident with JP Martinez, and they give the incident responsibility to Derek.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate moment in this race, and I'm sure Derek will... he's a great guy. He'll take it on the chin if it was his fault. He believes it will. He'll put his hand in the air for sure, but there may have been other circumstances that we're not aware of behind the wheel of the race car.
Okay, with that busy work out of the way, let's focus in on the racing, which, as we've gotten restarted, sees a battle for second place here in Pro-Am with an interloper, the Pro Class car of McCann, joining into the fight. Coleman trying to line up this move. He's in that McLaren, coming out of turn 7, trying to find a way past the pink BMW of Slade Stewart.
Yeah, let's see how that McLaren compares with this Porsche down the straightaway as well, with the BMW right in front of him.
How patient is McCann willing to be? Does Coleman feel like he's close enough? Doesn't look like he's got the straight line speed of that BMW. Stewart had plenty of gap down at the bottom of the hill.
It certainly seems like the BMW is a little bit stronger there, but it seems pretty even over the lap. So, you know, the team is talking to Todd Coleman, just keep it clean, stay out of trouble, get really close to where we're going to get you in a pit lane. As they say that, he runs off the road through turn 12.
Doesn't cost him a whole lot, but boy, that was a heart in your throat moment. If you're the Archangel team, he's almost there to the end of his drive time. And at that point, he can turn the car over to Aaron Telitz, who has been a rocket ship this weekend.
He certainly has. Just got to wonder whether that splitter got damaged in that rough ride up and over the curb and into the dirt there through turn 12. It's really a high-speed section of the racetrack. You're touching about 130 miles an hour when he went off the road.
Lalu in the pits, relinquishing 4th in Pro-Am to serve that penalty. Effectively, what happened is it's up to the teams to figure out if they're eligible for the wave-by. You have to be between your class leader and the safety car. They thought they were, but they weren't. So they have to give the lap that they made up plus an additional lap of penalty for taking the wave-by improperly.
See the pink BMW just stretching that gap a little bit over Todd Coleman. Can Jr. in the backdrop. Nothing he can do down that back stretch. I think he's got a little bit more pace over the lap, but he's also going to be conscious of that McLaren pitting. This can be dicey down the hill. Todd Coleman doesn't see him. He does. Clears him, hits the apex on his way.
That car, that 8 car of McCann, has the best sector times in sectors 1 and 3. So it is a fast car, but stuck in traffic right now by virtue of having taken that pit stop during the yellow. And into the pits comes TR3. Daniel Morad will climb aboard for the first time.
Yeah, but I'm seeing a problem here. Brayton Williams hasn't done 75 minutes drive time.
Right, because he spent too much time in the pit lane, and that doesn't count toward your drive time.
Yeah. So we're within It's not going to be right at 1:45 to go, which you'd think less 75 minutes. That pit stop time doesn't count, so you got to take that off or add it to your stint out on the racetrack. So about 1:43 to go when we'll see some action, I think, on pit lane. In fact, as I look at Cam Lawrence's time since last pit stop is 1 hour and 1 minute, and he can only extend that by another 4 minutes.
It's one of those we're just going to have to remember. It doesn't become a penalty until we reach the end of the race if they haven't addressed it by then. But hopefully the team is made aware and they find some way to rectify it. As costly as it would be to do an initial driver change and make sure you hit that drive time, it's better to do that than to run afoul of the drive time rules.
Georgia Clay. Lived it and breathed it. Messed up many a new tennis shoe at this place.
Yeah, if you
Back in the day of the white Reeboks.
Yeah, you start to stray too far off the path and you end up with that all over your shoes, your ankles, on your pants. Can't escape it in this part of the world. Couple interesting battles starting to break out here. Paris Companc, like he might have made a couple of inroads on Cameron Lawrence in the battle for the overall lead. Now a wrinkle to this fight here. Slade Stewart has caught John Gilliland, a lapped car just ahead. Maybe this is the opportunity Todd Coleman's been searching for.
Yeah, I think he just got to keep his head here. Don't force the issue, Todd. Just if you get the BMW, great, but if you don't worry about it. You're going to be hitting pit lane shortly, I would think. For Cam Lawrence, pretty tight here in terms of his stint length and minimum drive time as well being met at the same time. It's going to be really close before he'll do one more lap.
Let's keep an eye on that. Slade Stewart's been able to get around the Porsche. Next up to take a shot at it is Todd Coleman. That's if McCann doesn't get there first. Here comes McCann in the Porsche to the inside of Coleman. That is for 7th overall.
Yeah, I think for Todd, he's just got to keep his poise here, keep his rhythm, just keep hitting your marks, Todd. Just keep knocking out these laps here until you get the call to hit pit lane. You're in great shape. You've got a really fast race car. You've done an awesome job so far today. You know, your buddy and your teammate, Aaron Telitz, will get the job done here.
And that temperature has crept back up. We're just shy of 90 degrees Fahrenheit now. At green flag, it was about 81 because we had the rain come through and cool things off. So this is when all that training that you do in the off season and even during the season starts to come to the fore for someone like Todd Coleman, especially in that McLaren, which, as great of a race car as it is, doesn't have some of the creature comforts of the other GT3s.
Yeah, Cam Lawrence, I think, might have to come in this lap. I'm not sure he can stretch it one more, otherwise he's going to be outside the 65 minutes stint length. Let's see if he does that.
He does. Timing and scoring just updated, and Paris Companc follows him in.
He was flying under the bridge, and we cut away from him, like, did he hit pit lane or not? Because otherwise he was not going to go around and not be exceeding that 65-minute stint length.
Stevens stays out. We'll try and use an overcut strategy to get some track position. Daskalos as well, the Pro-Am leader, stays on the racetrack.
Yes, Stevens has a little bit more flexibility. He can stay out there another lap or so.
Lawrence climbs out. It'll be the Briton Alex Sedgwick getting in.
Great job by Cam. New dad. Fun to have him talk to Amanda. Amanda, what's going on with Archangel?
Yeah, you'll see the driver change happening. Todd Coleman out of that car, Aaron Telitz in. I did sneak by the team and talk to Mike Johnson to see if he thought that the McLaren was okay, if any splitter damage, as you guys were saying. He was like, nah, I saw it happen. Aaron gave me a big thumbs up and it said, we're just going to send it.
Now that's been his attitude this weekend, and it's been the right attitude. That car has been wicked fast since we arrived on site a couple of days ago. Turner team will make their pit stop now. About half the field electing to take this first opportunity to get the pit stop taken care of, get the starting driver out, and now start counting back on the clock to set up the strategy for the rest of the race.
Yeah, Yeah, that was about an 80-second stop there for the 6 car, so they left a couple of seconds on the table.
That was for which car? The Dollarhide car?
The Dollarhide car.
And that's been a work in progress for them, it must be said, this year.
And I think Foley and Turner left maybe a second on the... It looked like Foley was late to launch there. If I'm reading into the thumbs up from the driver, the mechanic at the front of the car. As we said, about a lap later here, we see Mackay Stevens turn over to Miguel Grenier, championship leaders. They had the smoothest run so far. Let's see if they can turn it around here in the second phase of this race.
Both JMF cars in for this crucial service. What a great opening stint, in particular from Jason Daskalos. They rolled the dice, started him on dry weather tires in damp conditions, and boy, did it pay off. It came at the recommendation of Philip Ellis, who's moonlighting with the team here this weekend, and Philip is about to get installed in this car. What a rocket ship he's been over the years.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun second half of this race when you get guys like Philip Ellis, Daniel Morad and the likes behind the wheel of his Mercedes. Grenier, who's going to be the top dog for AMG, and look at that. Philip Ellis is going to follow Grenier out. Here comes Alex Sedgwick in that Pro Class Mustang, and here comes Schandorf as well.
So even with the slower stop from the Mustang, it looks like they were able to maintain the lead. Schandorf comes through into second place, and now Grenier slots into third, de facto third, of those that have made pit stops.
Philip Ellis allows Foley through here, so I'm not sure if that was just being respectful of a different class car or just recognizing I'm going to struggle to get tire temp here. Foley doing the 1 lap undercut on them.
One story we haven't told yet is what an odd pairing it is in retrospect between Philip Ellis and Jason Daskalos. They were rivals a year ago. Oh, is that a problem for the Mustang? Off the pace. No. The Ferrari sweeps on by to the de facto lead of the class.
Wow.
What has happened to the Dollarhide Mustang?
They had an alternator belt issue earlier this weekend and changed it, and then they had to change the alternator, so wonder if that gremlin has reared its head again. Is he back up to speed? Is he stuck in a gear? What if he's just stuck in like 3rd or 4th gear and got no further speed available? So the engine noise sounds strong, but here you see the crew just... Scott Dollarhide cannot believe the radio communication he must be listening to from his driver, Alex Sedgwick.
And Alex has to come back into the pit lane from the lead of the race. It had been a flawless day up to this point, but just before the halfway mark, Sedgwick crawling down the pits back to the Dollarhide team.
The engine sounded okay, but he obviously didn't have the speed of the others, so I just wonder if it's just stuck in a gear.
Cameron Lawrence, who did such fine work, can only watch. The crew is taking a look. First to clean the grill, heard the crew member shout about that.
I wonder if it's a half shaft or something, if they're checking suspension, like he's feeling something's wrong, but he doesn't have the right amount of drive. Oh.
Now this is puzzling to say the least. Doesn't look like the crew's got much more of an idea than we do at this point. We saw Amanda's on the scene, so I'm sure as soon as we can, we will pass along that information to you. But boy, your heart goes out to the Dollarhide team. What a great day it was shaping up to be.
It certainly was. Cam did an awesome job. Team had done an awesome job to give him a good car to work with, and just within a handful of laps here, Sedgwick has got drama.
So on the alternate strategy then, Michael McCann has cycled through to the lead of the race and the pro class, but they're on a different sequence than everyone else, in part because they've been single stinting their drivers up to this point. They came in under that last yellow. Meanwhile, the Pro-Am class lead has fallen into the hands of Daniel Morad. Just turned in some fast laps not so long ago, did Daniel. I think we can get to the bottom of what happened to the Dollarhide team. Amanda, what can you tell us?
Yeah, just talking to Scott Dollarhide, he said that there is just absolutely no power in this Ford Mustang. We don't know what is happening, and Cameron Lawrence has just been shaking his head. I know you were so unbelievably frustrated. What have you heard?
I just heard maybe we're down a cylinder or something. He got out for his outlap and just said that he had no power. So unfortunate. I think the guy said they saw some fire out the exhaust maybe on the way in, so possibly something engine related. I don't think it's fuel or anything like that, so I don't know. There are no signs or anything on track. I was super happy with our guys. Our car was awesome. Dealing with the different weather and, you know, wet tires, dry tires, the thing was on rails. So that was our race to win and the Ferrari guys' race to lose, and I think we had a shot at it, but yeah, we'll see what we can figure out.
How do you digest this one, Cameron?
This is rough, you know. We've our just year's been so up and down. You know, we have a good result and then we have a bad one, and we have another good one, and then we just, you know, it's very tough. It's the glimmers of sunshine help a little bit, you know, being able to lead some laps and show some pace, but it just makes it harder to swallow when things don't go your way.
What a heartbreaker! It truly is a punch in the guts there for that group.
And it has been an up and down week for Cameron Lawrence, quite literally, when you think about all the travel he's been doing. New dad with a newborn at home.
He was off at Le Mans this week, just for a couple of days, just crazy trip out there coaching someone, and made a quick trip back, so he didn't get here to the circuit till late Thursday.
The best sleep he got all week was maybe on that flight to and from France. But this one doesn't end the way that he would have hoped. Meanwhile, fastest lap of the race, and it should come as no surprise if you've watched any GT World Challenge America races this year. Tom Sargent has been the man, and he is putting in fast lap after fast lap once again.
Yeah, just amazing what he's able to do, and just, you know, 120.4. Yeah, there's some other drivers now at 120.6, 120.7. But that is an amazing lap that he's just laid down there. Andy Lee's really quick. We talk about that pink BMW for Riley. It is super fast here today. Slade did a great job. Now Andy's laid down a 120.7 as well. So some really quick race cars out there.
Yeah, that car's running in podium contention at the moment. Sargent does have some work to do, down in 6th currently, but has the fastest car on the racetrack. His target will be Aaron Telitz. That car has been super fast all weekend, so that won't be an easy challenge. Let's see, though, what Tom Sargent can do. Mentioned this earlier, but the AM-Class entry, Jay Schreiben has a new co-driver, and this is a series debut here for the Dane Benny Simonsen, who comes at the recommendation of the man he's filling in for, Oz Negri, and also brings an extensive resume globally, including quite a few starts with this team, AF Corsa. Oz Negri dealing with an Achilles injury that he suffered while training. And Oz, I know, frustrated not to be in the car here this weekend, but is doing everything in his power to return to the racetrack the next time we're on track. That's at Road America, end of August.
Yeah, such a shame, such an irony when you're working out to be fit to drive a race car and you injure yourself. He was doing some box jumps and just popped it. And you know, he's going to fight hard. He's already, you know, had the stitches taken out, and he's now in a boot, and you know, he's just going to work hard to try and be back for Road America. But he says he's got some really great doctors working with him, and you know how diligent Oz is on the fitness side, and he's going to do everything he can to be back in a race car this year.
Benny, Danish driver, is the younger brother of the late and much missed Alan Simonsen, who made such an impact in a short amount of time in his racing career globally. But Benny, a solid racer in his own right. Class winner at the 24 Hours of Spa just over a decade ago in 2015. Back to Tom Sargent, who has reset the fastest lap of the race. It's down to a 120.2 now, and he can see his quarry. Telitz has he's just got one car between himself and Telitz up the road.
Yeah, just again, he's just really at home with his Porsche.
This is for position here. Telitz has caught Ryan Yardley and makes quick work of him. Wow, that was a power move.
Yeah, Telitz is showcasing the confidence that he displayed earlier in the weekend when he had a chat with us, just saying, the car's dialed in, this could be the day.
Well, up next then for Sargent, needs to get through the lap traffic, then get to Yardley, who, as I mentioned, is on a career path that is mirroring in a lot of respects Tom Sargent, just a couple of years behind.
Daniel Moorhead is currently leading Pro-Am, but we believe his teammate still has to get back in the car.
Right. They break Williams. Yeah, they're doing something different than the rest of the field, but they were trying to be clever with the strategy, just might have miscalculated the fact that time spent in the pit lane doesn't count towards your minimum drive time. Let's check back into the pits in Amanda.
Yeah, we were standing by Archangel when the TR3 Mercedes came in, and I did see Mike Johnson tell the team, I think their under went by TR3 after the pit stop to check in. The team thinks that they're fine. I saw Braden Williams on track as well, and he started adding the minutes of his stint times. Said I was headed down to the Dolomite Mustang quickly, but said he was going to check with the team.
Now make sure he knows that time spent in the pits does not count.
But I think even without that, Ryan, we weren't 75 minutes into the race, so forget time in pit lane. If you haven't done 75 minutes of race time, you're never going to meet the drive time.
Approaching the halfway mark, still a lot to play out here in this long-awaited return for SRO America to Road Atlanta. 15 years ago, the last time this paddock was here, and a lot has changed in the intervening decade and a half.
And it's a thrill ride around this place. It's a great venue for these cars and all of the championships in SRO to compete here. We've seen some awesome GT4 races. I'd say the Pirelli GT4 races this weekend were some of the best we've ever had in the history of the class. So well suited here, and you can see these high downforce machines equally suited here. A little bit harder to go side by side like a GT4 car, but nonetheless it's been spectacular.
Ryan Yardley will have to fight for all he's worth here to keep Tom Sargent in arrears. Sargent has erased that deficit now, but can he plot a course by Ryan Yardley? He's definitely closing in. This is Wright Motorsports up against GMG, and it's the GMG car that's on the attack, looking around the outside. Sargent draws alongside. Can he keep it there? Yes, he can.
Wow.
Sargent is through.
A move. Pinpoint accuracy like a surgeon through there. That was incredible how he took it to the outside, just turned in to give Ryan enough room and still make the corner. That was incredible.
Some renewal of a fight we've seen a couple of times throughout the season so far, but the edge to Tom Sargent.
Yardley has got to be saying, what was that all about? So great driving, must have a great setup underneath him. Now they've played a little bit with fuel loads as well in terms of these cars really light up if you run a little bit lighter fuel load. So again, maybe they're on a slightly lighter fuel load for this stint and the full stint to the finish. They've also elected sometimes to put the new tires on now and have the scrub set for the finish as well. So that's what's made him. It's really been this like third sector of the race where he's really been on fire in terms of his lap times every single race this year.
Yeah, it's something GMG has made a concerted effort to try and take advantage of. And to this point, really, we haven't seen anybody else, at least from what we can tell, following suit. But it's working for them. And as we've heaped so much praise on Tom, we should be quick to point out that GMG, the team, is giving him the car with which he can excel, and they've done that all year long.
They certainly have. They always deliver. It's such a top-notch team. Everything looks immaculate, and the setup seems to be pretty immaculate as well.
Battle for third in the pro class. Here comes Robbie Foley on the charge. It's now Mikhail Grenier behind the wheel of the Mercedes for JMF.
His position is so important as position one in the championship with the JF Mercedes and only 5 points back as Robbie Foley. So even though they're duking it out for what is a podium run right now, P3 and P4, if Foley can reverse that, that would be massive in terms of not losing 2 more points, you'd gain 2.
As they run, it would become an 8-point lead for Stevens and Grenier over Rothberg and Foley. But as you say, Cal, you flip that around, it's suddenly a 2-point deficit. Massive swing. Plus, it turns Foley loose to go and see if he can get a little bit more. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is, okay, it's for positions 3 and 4 right now, but the McCann car's on a different sequence, so this could actually end up being for second and third, and the point difference between second and third is different than it is between third and fourth.
Yeah, no, it's massive. So we'll have to wait and see what stacks up here. McCann Jr. and that team, they're going to have to serve 2 stops to get to the finish, although one of them will be a quick one as Justin Rothberg watches his mentor Robbie Foley continue to push the JMF Motorsports Mercedes as hard as he can.
Every time we turn up to the track, especially here in the heat of summer, I keep wondering, is Justin going to stay committed to that look that he's been championing here, that mullet look? Remember the line from Robbie a couple of rounds ago? There's pros and cons to the mullet, I think is what he said, which sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, very politically correct. It was Robbie there with his words. And there was talk that Justin wasn't even going to compete here this weekend.
That's
I
right.
think he had a personal conflict. Maybe it was a friend's wedding. I'm not sure exactly what was going on. But after that big win at Sebring, he said, you know what, I'm going to be here at the racetrack.
I'm not really one to give hair or sartorial advice, quite frankly. These are not words of judgment, just pointing out that he has stayed committed even in the heat. Here's Race Vision powered by AWS. Let's compare and contrast the different sectors. Fascinating that it's a different mark that is quickest in each of the 3 zones around the track.
Yeah, we've seen that other BMW of Riley have good prodigious speed down the back stretch, and it looked like Turner have got that with a 29 car through sector 2, which is essentially that long run down into turn 6 and then the start of the back stretch.
Now Foley has been able to get this close to Grenier, but it doesn't seem like he's been able to get much closer.
He's taken off a little bit from Philip Ellis. So I think Ellis and the squad there may recognize that the TR3 group are in a bit of a problem with their drive time for Brayton Williams, so they're going to come back to them, I feel.
Look at this. Here comes Sargent. He has caught Aaron Thielitz. My goodness. And it hasn't taken long. Little traffic for them to contend with, too. Not just a couple of quarters from now.
So it's a battle for P4 in Pro-Am. So again, Sargent just moving forward rapidly through this field. He's dropped Ryan Yardley by about 3.5 seconds since he passed him just a handful of laps ago. Lights are flashing. Aaron Thielitz, you think, oh, got a really strong race car, I'm as quick as anyone out here. And then you see that multicolored E-Boost Porsche inching up ever closer. I'll be wondering, what has he been eating for breakfast?
Comparing fastest laps, Sargent has the best one. Schandorf quickest out of the pro ranks. Riley Dickinson, that car's way down in 9th, but look how quick Riley is here this weekend. And then you find Thielitz, and frankly, that comes as a surprise to me, given the pace that was on full display all throughout practice and qualifying.
Yeah, and I have to wonder whether, when I look at the pace of Grenier and Foley, maybe comparing it to Schandorf, maybe they've gone with that used set of rubber for this stint and saving their best for last.
And that could be what we're seeing here playing out too.
Yep.
Yeah, good point.
Makes a big difference. And with the wet weather usage by any car in the field during the course of the race, that basically takes off the table the fact that you demand to run your quali sets. But, you know, with the allocation, there's really not much wiggle room anyway in terms of how many sets of your tires you got to work with for the complete weekend. So I'm not sure it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I guess the only thing you could do is you could have had your first driver burn both of the scuffed sets or something like that, and then save a couple of sets of stickers for the finish.
Yep.
Probably tough to ask an AM to manage that, but maybe one of the Pro Class cars could have considered making that gamble.
Yeah, that's a great call, actually. You've got to be thinking on your toes because that weather came in late, so you've got to make those split-second decisions. Probably just keep it with the normal racing template, how you go about it. But we have seen that GMG Porsche elect to put their fresh tires on for this stint and have Tom finish the race on his quali set. And I think there's going to be others in this field who are going to have the fresh set of probably P0s for the end of this race when they'll have a little bit more pace. And I think we're going to see Grenier and Foley. So I look at Foley's pace, 121.0. I think his teammate ran a 22 flat. And normally they're about 1.5 seconds or so apart on Delta. So I think Foley could start to light up the timesheets once he gets some fresh tires on later in the race.
And a voice in my ear reminded me about how the GT Academy works, which is for drivers who will be 30 or under 30 really by the end of the year and are FIA silver graded. Tom Sargent fits that bill, and it's a big prize, a chance to go race in a funded seat at the 24 Hours of Spa next year with the other winners from the different global championships that produce the GT Academy winners, but part of it is putting together a string of fast, consistent laps, and maybe GMG is thinking about putting Tom Sargent in the best position to try and go after that prize. If that is what they're thinking about, it's working, because he scored maximum points through 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's a nice nugget to hang out there and go after. I'm not sure whether you'd always want to compromise your race day strategy just for that. Obviously, massive prize to have a seat at Spa next year, but nonetheless, it's certainly the icing on the cake when you put days together like they're doing.
Credit to the SRO, though, for putting a program like that together to give a boost to some of these young drivers. Your silver drivers are young up-and-comers that are trying to find a way to break into the big time, and this is a great way to reward one from America, one from Asia, one from Australia, and then one from British GT. Back to the front of Pro-Am, where Daniel Morad is in control for the moment, but again, with the potential of a stint time miscalculation that they're going to have to rectify before the end of this race. Daniel's in the car now. Brayton Williams started. Not sure if he's done, though, Amanda. What can you find out?
I think he's got about 75 more seconds that he needs to see in this race today, and they're trying to go over what that might look like. Hopefully are wanting a safety car. We'll see if that happens, but if we don't see that, what will the choice be, Braden?
I think we'll probably jump in right at the end and just knock out about 5 minutes. So we'll see, hoping for a safety car, but anything could happen. We got Daniel in the car now, and he's turning off some pretty good laps, so we'll see.
I kind of like the idea of you out there with the pros. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it should be fun. Hopefully I can hang with them, but we'll see.
All right, guys, we got something on deck for us.
I think we got to factor in here because Morad is only 26 minutes into this stint, so he can stay out there almost another 40 minutes. And you have the option of putting Brayton back in.
Right.
But let me think about that, actually. But then that would be a problem because Daniel hasn't surpassed 75. So, yeah, I think that there are 2 stops either way. It's just when you choose to take your medicine here. Yeah, they're just outside it. When they came in, I'm looking at the clock. It's like there's no way that works. Forget the time on pit lane and not, you know, discounting that from your overall time. That was just too short in the race.
The best thing Daniel can do is put his head down and go fast and try and put a few more cars a lap down, and then that minimizes some of the damage of having to make that extra stop. And because it would just be a driver change stop, the extra one, they don't have to stay stationary or stay in the pits for the 78 seconds. So it's just the time it takes to go down the pit lane and do the driver change. It's not as punitive as it would be for a full service stop, which is effectively a lap.
Yeah, basically what you're looking at, they're in position. Everyone behind them has got to do one more stop. Mandatory fuel. They have to do the same thing, but they're going to make another trip down pit lane that will cost them delta probably about 25 to 30 seconds. So it's going to drop them down the order, but they still should have a top 5 finish or so, I would think.
Right, so with that in mind, I actually think a safety car would be a bad thing for them. It would bunch the field up, whereas right now, if Morad can continue to go fast and build that gap, then that might allow them to minimize the damage.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Not sure how you could use the safety car to get the pit stop taken care of and not end up losing more ground, but at any rate, all of that to play out here over the final 77 minutes.
Great battle here, though. This is for the final podium spot right now, unless Morad does drop down the order a little bit. So it could, in fact, be a battle for P2. You've got Philip Ellis running in P2 currently. That may become the lead once Morad does a double pit stop before the checkered flag here this afternoon. So Andy Lee is doing a great job. Really solid lap times. Telitz has closed in on him, but you know, they've run very similar fast laps of the day. You got Sargent there nipping at their heels as well, who's run a lap time a half second clear of them and the majority of the rest of the field. So seems like Sargent's pace is kind of stymied a little bit. I'm not sure just running in the dirty air has kind of hurt his tires a little bit, or whether they just lost their edge. And I really think that, you know, probably Tielitz will be going on a fresh set at the end. So this could be a battle all the way to the checkered flag here with over 76 minutes to run.
A lot at stake, too, when you think about the two cars that are in the better track position here. So Andy Lee, that would be a huge first podium for them. We've talked about the travails that Archangel have had this year. They've really had no good results, only 1 point through 3 races. And although Sargent and Washington have had good results, they've got to be thinking about trying to maximize their point score here and minimize any point loss vis-a-vis those that are chasing them in the championship. So all of these cars here with plenty at stake. And actually, Philip Ellis isn't that far up the road either. Just saw a glimpse of that car that should effectively inherit the lead of the race once the TR3 situation resolves itself. As wow, Sargent super late on the brakes. Not sure if that was a legitimate move to the inside or simply trying to make sure he didn't get into the back of the McLaren, but he closed down quickly. Crisis averted, able to continue on. Sargent, though, looking as threatening as he has relative to Tielitz in this stint.
Yeah, and with that battling going on, it's allowed Andy Lee to just gap these guys. So Lee is doing a great performance. It seems like Riley's really got that BMW working well. Slate's doing an excellent opening stint here. Dealt with the slick tires on the damp racetrack and then at great pace. And Andy Lee has picked up the reins and continued to keep them in strong position.
Best finish this season for Stewart and Lee, a P5 at Circuit of the Americas. They were involved in an incident in the first race. DNF, 12th place, no points. 5th at Coda, as I said, and then 7th the last time out. They're also 7th in the championship, 46 tallies out of the lead. And there aren't many chances to score points this year, Calvin. That's one thing we've talked about this year. The switch to this one race, 3-hour format versus a schedule by and large that was a double-header format with 2 90-minute races in seasons past. You cut down the number of point-scoring opportunities effectively by half.
Correct. It's almost like they're double points every single race, so they're equally as valuable. And that means if you do have a DNF, it's like having 2 DNFs in years prior.
Especially so in the Pro-Am class where there are enough cars in the class you can finish and not score points at all. The good news for, let's say, Dollar High Racing, they won't see the finish, but they'll still score 5th place points, and that helps to mitigate some of the pain.
Suddenly they're right with Andy Lee.
Oh.
Not sure if Lee had a little bobble there, but suddenly they have eaten into that gap in a tremendous hurry there, and Sargent now is all over the tail of Tielitz.
Got a great run up the hill, took a peek to the inside, but not close enough to take a lunge. Tielitz hangs on. Again, that gives a reprieve to Lee. This is 6 leading to the crucial turn 7, which spits them out onto the long back straightaway. Tielitz all up and over the curb. He is harried now by Tom Sargent, who is coming with a head of steam.
I think Tielitz really has to carry a lot of speed into the entry to turn 7. I think he's worried about Sargent making a little dive down the inside there, and by doing that, I think he comes off the corner a little bit slower than Sargent does. Sargent just carved the corner much more effectively, but I don't think that Porsche has the straightaway speed to really think about making a move down there into the brake zone.
No, I agree. The McLaren's pretty quick in a straight line. Plus, he's got that big BMW and that massive greenhouse towing him around.
That's right. He's got it all working for him.
Sure, he'd love to get by the BMW. That could be challenging, too, because if the McLaren has an edge, it would appear, in straight line speed compared to the Porsche, I think the BMW's got the edge on both of those other brands in the straight line stuff.
Just looking at the graphic to the left, obviously showing the McCann Junior Porsche out front. Now they've got to make 2 stops, Ryan, but one of their stops can be a short one.
Right.
And they've developed quite the healthy lead.
Oh, problems for Turner, Calvin. Off the pace, Robbie Foley. What has happened to this car now?
Wow. Okay, so he's doing a Control-Alt-Delete here, seeing if he can get, not like he's just pulled it off out of the way to day is done.
Yeah, you can see they've recycled the electronics. The lights went off, now trying to get them back up. You see the SRO official there talking to the team, trying to understand the situation and whether or not a full course yellow is necessary. It comes out regardless, just as Foley starts to pull away. And let's see if we can hear more. Amanda, what can you tell us?
Well, Justin, I saw your face go immediately into your hands. I know you're just absolutely dejected at this. What's going on?
Car is broken, not ideal. Yeah, so.
What did Robbie say?
Just said no drive, car's broken. Seems he can't even make it back, so that is not ideal.
You can hear the frustration in his voice. That looked like this could have been a fun charge through the field for Robbie Foley. Instead, he'll score 4th place points in class. Let's watch this replay here. Keep an eye out, and boy, he just pulled off to the side right away, sensing something was amiss.
Yeah, just as he accelerated off of turn 5, obviously something went south on the race car. Just devastating blow for the team that's coming off a big win at Sebring.
Now, what can you do here at this point when the pit's open? They're not open yet.
This is
still
not
outside of
really
the
ideal
window.
for the McCann Junior squad, because I was just relating, they almost had a big enough gap to play with that short pit stop there. So everyone's going to do a full one. Forget this yellow going back 5 minutes here. Everyone had to do a full stop, and they had to do a short one with just a driver reset, which is going to cost you about 30 seconds. They had that margin over the Ferrari, so they looked in great shape, but suddenly that's all gone away with this caution.
Now they're trying to overcome that drive-through that they picked up in the opening hour, which I think in part caused them to go off strategy. And had it stayed green, the car's been pretty quick. AB, they would have been in a position to get a big-time result. Instead, safety car comes out and puts them strategically, it would seem, on the back foot. Wave by about to take place, it appears. So you can see the Rebel Rock car, for instance. Robin Liddell now driving. He's behind the safety car, but ahead of his class leader, so he'll get this wave by. Same for Colin Brown.
Yeah, so essentially if you're trapped between the safety car and your class leader, so you got pro cars leading this field like McCann Jr., and you got other Pro-Am cars that are now getting that wave by.
And that's so that the overall leader doesn't split the lower classes. It's a great way to fix that problem. Part of the rule set internationally now for some time.
The length of this yellow could be super important here, because we're almost getting to the point where you could make a pit stop and not be outside a 65-minute stint to finish this race. So you can see the time on the board there, just under 69. So if this yellow goes for another 4 minutes, you can dive in once the pits are open, of course, and make that final stop of the day.
Any reason not to do it? I wouldn't think so either. It's just tough for a couple of cars that we know will need to make additional stops. So the McCann car, and that is to, because they've been single stinting their drivers, there's still one more driver that needs to get aboard to make sure the minimum drive time's taken care of. And as we chronicled, same for TR3. Because of a miscalculation, and Brayden Williams will need to get back in that car.
Yeah, so they talk about catching the yellow. So when the pit lane open, you could say, okay, dive in, stick Brayton in, let him do a lap. And even under yellow, that counts, as long as you're out on the racetrack. Time on pit lane does, but under yellow, the time would count. You could maybe come back in, put Daniel back on board to the finish. But you're going to lose track position by doing that either way.
Just over an hour and 7 minutes to go. Riding on board with Philip Ellis. Let's head back to the pits in Amanda.
Jason, I saw you when you first got out, and there was just a massive grin on your face. I think the guys said a brilliant drive from you. Why was this the best of the year?
Well, the car's great. The team's great for sure. It helps to have a great car. So, but I always do well in tough conditions. So I feel like that played in my hand a little bit at the beginning. But the car was great and was able to just be consistent and pull a gap.
Now that you guys have Philip Ellis in here this weekend, did he have any suggestions or input on setup for the Mercedes?
No, actually, we tested here, so we came with the same setup. So actually, we didn't change the car from the test, so that was good.
We talked to Philip yesterday about you two racing together and kind of how fortuitous it is going back to Barber last year. What's your opinion on it?
Oh, I've always told my fiance I always wanted to race with Philip. Like, what it would be like to race with Philip, and here we are, so I'm excited.
I've kind of heard it might not be the last time you race with Philip this season.
No, he's going to do the Indy 8-hour with us, so I'm happy about that.
Guys, I think this is the earliest we've gotten a roster announcement for the Indy 8-hour, and that is for Philip Ellis to join the JMF Mercedes of Jason Daskalos and Lauren Hannafin.
Yeah, I love how straightforward Jason Daskalos is. Forget press releases. Yeah, he's going to be with us.
Love it. Yeah. Great breaking news there from Amanda. You heard it here first.
Pits are open. And I think you can come, because by the time you come into pit lane and leave pit lane, there'll be less than 75 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, I think so too. So expect the Oklahoma Land Rush equivalent of GT cars making their way down the pit lane here shortly. And for just about the rest of the field, this will be the final pit stop of the race, with a couple of notable exceptions, including this car right here of McCann Racing. Let's see which cars make that trip to the pit lane, and it will be just about everybody coming in for their final service of the race. They'll be under 75 or 65 minutes to go when they leave the pits, so everyone's good to go to the finish as long as they've met their minimum drive time.
Getting that stop done absolutely on the number could be huge here. If you're a second or two off, you could lose a bundle of positions, or gain for that matter.
Crucial time to execute with everybody bunched up. You're exactly right. Here comes the McCann crew. They'll focus on what they need to do now, which is a clean pit stop. Pirelli P0's going on. Driver change as well. How about that shot? As the JMF car hits its mark. This is a well-orchestrated ballet here. All the crew members doing their part. Just the one air gun and one tire carrier. Looks like the McCann stop is a clean one. Just waiting to make sure they've been in the pits long enough before they release that car. Same story, at least for the Pro-Am entry from JMF. Philip Ellis at the controls. And he gets the word to head back out.
Oh, that was close there. Was there overlap with the JMF car?
That is really interesting.
Yeah, if there's any overlap with that Porsche on the tail end of that left rear corner of that Mercedes, he's going to have to give it up.
Exactly. There are two lanes, effectively, in the pit lane. The outside lane is the fast lane, and any car there, if it has any overlap at all on a car that's in that middle lane, gets priority. And if there was a little touch, which it looked like there could have been, that would indicate to me there was indeed overlap. And that position might end up getting reversed. Now, one other strategic note here is that Kelly Moss has kept Colin Brown out. Of the lead lap cars, I believe that is the only car that did not pit.
It's 36 minutes into this stint, so he can't do the rest of the distance. He'll be exceeding without pit stops. He'll be exceeding the 65 minutes.
So he will have to do another stop.
Just trying to get my head around the McCann Jr. Vanier. So has McCann Jr. sufficed his drive time? Because if he has, then they don't need to serve another stop.
Well, that's true. Let's see if maybe Amanda can chase that for us. This is that moment we were talking about, though, leaving the pit lane. And the crucial thing to see is, where is the Mercedes and where is the Porsche? Is there any overlap here? Ugh, hard to tell from that angle.
Yeah, I'd say on that angle, I'd say maybe not. I think the Porsche just thought he might be running into him, as the Mercedes maybe getting up to the full 50K on pit lane, possibly.
That's about as close as you can get.
That's close, yeah. Definitely one for the Stewart's driver. Now the look at, you would think.
For the moment, that means that Grenier and JMF lead in the pro class. Shuffles Vanier down to second. Question marks over whether or not minimum drive time has been reached for both drivers in that car. And then Fred Schandorf sits third in class, fourth in line here, behind Morad, who beat everybody out of the pit lane. I think they must have just done their driver change. Is that right?
Well, no, they've still got to do another stop for Brayden Williams. So,
but I'm wondering how they were able to get all that track position.
Well, he was second on the road, right? So Vanier dropped back. Unfortunately, we only have total pit time. We don't have that last pit time. So
let's see. I might be able to find that for you. There it is. Morad had a, and we'll get to the bottom of that in a second. Let's get back to the pits and an update from Amanda now.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm looking at Daniel Morad still with his helmet on. Also said that struggles inside of that Mercedes. There's no air conditioning and the helmet blower is not working. So he's saying that it is excruciating out there. When will you get back in the Mercedes?
We just had a little miscalculation on drive time. So we're just going to get Brayton his 5 extra minutes and then I'm back in. But I mean, it was a really great strategy call. We were playing 5D chess and we thought we had it with you know, the pit stop requirements being three full pit stops. But yeah, just slight miscalculation, maybe a bit too much excitement over here. We thought we had it, but it's okay. We'll still just drive as hard as we can, try to bring the TR3 Mercedes back to the front.
All right, restart, and Brayden Williams is actually in that car, as you could tell, because we were just talking to Daniel Morad, and he's trying to knock out the last of that drive time here.
I think they got a further issue, though. They were way late by 3.5 seconds on the minimum stop time taking fuel, and you see Brayden Williams there really creating a bit of a cork in the bottle here with that mid-pack running.
He's backed up to the rest of the Pro-Am class now. Philip Ellis just behind, flashing those headlights, coming under threat possibly from Andy Lee. Once that TR3 car takes care of its last pit stop, this then becomes Ellis leading. Lee in second, at least right now, but Andy Lee's not waiting around.
No, that BMW's got speed here. Andy Lee up on the wheel, putting the pressure on one of the legends of GT3 racing, Philip Ellis.
Tom Sargent trying to get through some lap traffic here so he can get into the mix, into the fun. Ellis sweeping around the outside of Williams. Lee will try to follow him through. Meanwhile, how about this? It's around the outside from Schandorf, trying to muscle his way past Vanier, but the Canadian will have none of it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for something to come up on the timing screens. I believe that the JMF squad will maybe a 10.5 shy on the minimum stop time. That would be about a 1.5 second penalty, but we'll wait for clarification on that.
Here comes Schandorf. He'll try it again, this time down into turn 1, and he'll take that position away from Vanier. So put the blue Ferrari up to P2. Now he'll have to put his head down to chase down Grenier, who has a potential pit lane infraction hanging over his head.
Yeah, he does. So he may not need the lead to get the pro win here. We just got to wait for clarification. But last pit time, as we see on our data, says 77.87, and it needed to be 78 seconds. So they seem to be just shy of that. It'll not create a drive-through, but normally that's a multiple of 10 on that.
So that would be just under
1.2 seconds.
Right. Well, no official word on that just yet.
I do believe they go by what they normally do. Grenier should be on fresh Pirelli P0s here for this final stint.
In the background, just got a quick glimpse of Brayden Williams getting tapped from behind and just about lost the back of his Mercedes, keeping him out for now. Got a warning issued to Zach Vanier for blocking. That must have been the move right down here at this part of the track when he was trying to hang on to the spot up against Schandorf.
I just think they got a bigger problem as well, because their stop was only 74.6 seconds, nearly 3.5 seconds light for the number 9 car. So even though they got to do another driver change to get Daniel Morad the correct amount of drive time, they're also potentially got a penalty coming their way as well.
Yeah, Williams is in the pits now. We've got a couple pit stops under review, and one of them is the Grenier car, the overall race leader.
Yeah, so Grenier's got to get his head down, and Schandorf will get that message once it comes up on the screen. I believe they're looking at a 1.13 second post-race addition to their race time.
Remember, though, how close it was trying to come out ahead of the McCann car in the pit lane. I wonder if it wasn't worth playing that joker, taking that little penalty that will come post-race to make sure you're ahead of the Porsche coming out of the pits. It's much better than restarting behind the Porsche.
Yeah, and there's also some games that can be played, right? You leap out, there's a potential to not quite get up to speed as quickly as I should. It's not like, yes, I'm on the rev limiter, so there's some games that can be played to get that 1/10 of a second back or so, but certainly is a little bit shy.
Whatever the case, intentional or otherwise, we'll pass along any penalty if it's given to us. Here comes Sargent trying to get back through on Ryan Yardley. I think the GMG crew had a slightly slower pit stop. They did by about a second. That seems to have cost them some track position. When everybody pits together, a second in the pit lane becomes a couple of positions sometimes, and that's put them on the back foot.
Yeah, and again, we saw Sargent just blistering the lap times there on his earlier stint, but we've got to wait and see if he's now on used rubber here for the final run to the checkered flag. They'll have the same sharpness to his lap times.
So many different moving parts and pieces to this race as it enters its final third. Less than an hour to go now. A look at the race progress chart for these two cars. It's been an up and down day for both of them, and they find themselves here together now at this stage. Philip Ellis making his way through the traffic. Following him through, though, is Andy Lee. Daniel Morad stuck in the middle of this, just out of the pit lane. I wonder, they did a full service stop there that time. I wonder if their stop under the yellow, they didn't refuel, and therefore being
Oh, look at this, how tight it was. Almost contact there to in excess of 150 miles an hour. Wow. That was awfully close there between Ellis and the 9 machine.
Ellis isn't afraid. On the ragged edge. Saw that at Daytona earlier this year. That was able to get him a buffer there of the Morad Mercedes in between himself and Andy Lee. Lee, though, trying to get by. Morad's not going to make it easy for him. Here comes Tiewitz now. He's got momentum in the McLaren.
Yeah, he's got a big run, so Ellis wanted to clear that Mercedes and get on with the program because he knows there's some really fast cars behind him, including that pink BMW and the McLaren.
Back behind, you can see Tom Sargent was able to put the pass on Ryan Yardley, so moved the GMG car back up a spot into 4th place now. Just off the podium. More or less right back where he was prior to the full course yellow pit stops, right on the tailpipe of Aaron Tiewitz.
Yeah, so just getting back to that Morad pit stop situation, they were way light on the earlier one by about 3 seconds. That meant they had to do a full one on this one, and that's why he's essentially lost a full lap. He just did a 79-second stop there when he did that last stop to take over the reins from Brayton Williams. They recognized the mistake, so that means that was a throwaway one, the earlier one, I believe.
Got it. There is the word that we were expecting. Post-race time penalty of 1.27 seconds for the JMF car. That leads the race on the road, but Fred Schandorf is well within 1.27 seconds.
Yeah, and he just needs to keep it right there. I mean, without risking anything. Grenier's going to have to try and figure out a solution to how do I make this work. Do I have enough pace? I can just stretch it by a few tenths each lap. A lot of time left in this motor race. Still at 53 minutes on the board.
Battle here for podium positions. Tiewitz in 3rd in Pro-Am. Sargent in 4th in Pro-Am. Yardley in 5th. They all run nose to tail with a little bit of traffic there mixed in. Just behind in the form of the 88, Luke Hartog. That car's a lap down, but it's plenty fast, or is it a lap down? Yes, it is.
Here comes Schandorf, shadowing Grenier. Half a second between the two cars, barreling down the backstretch.
What a freight trade this is. Grenier leads by half a second over Schandorf. Here comes Lee now trying to get by Morad, and Daniel, he might be playing tail gunner for the other Mercedes here. That bunches up Lee, that opens the door. Here comes Thielitz, he's to the inside, a little hip check there possibly, but the McLaren is through, and he's got company. Tom Sargent coming as well.
Yeah, I don't think Lee is going to be really happy with Daniel, because Daniel's a lap down now, so I get it. You want to just fight for everything, but you got Philip Ellis ahead of you, so you're already a lap down in your class. I could understand if it was Ellis behind you and you try to stay on the lead lap of Pro-Am, but he's not there any longer, and that's just mixing up this battle for the final podium spots.
It's been a tough day for the TR3 crew. They've had good speed, but it started off the wrong way in the opening hour, tipped around into a spin that's put them on a back foot, and they've not been able to get out of that stance the rest of this race. Thielitz up now into second place. He'll need to find a way past Morad to see if he can run down Ellis. Meanwhile, here comes Sargent. He gets to the inside of Andy Lee. That was down in turn 7. Don't often see a pass made there. Doesn't leave him vulnerable, though, to the straight line speed of the BMW. Lee on the counterattack.
Yeah, just seems like that Porsche's a little bit down in the straightaway. He's got great lap time. That's got to be frustrating for Sargent here. As Lee moves the BMW, Sargent late on the brakes, just to rest his speed, just in the nick of time. Doesn't touch the BMW.
Great look at the speed under the bridge there at the top of the hill, turn 11. Then the plunge down the hill through turn number 12. Just over 50 minutes to go. Grenier leads it on the road, but is carrying a penalty. Schandorf would be on adjusted time the overall winner of this race if Grenier can't start to pull away. In the Pro-Am ranks, Philip Ellis worked his way through the traffic, and that's helped him build a buffer. He's now got a significant advantage over Aaron Thielitz, who in that McLaren needs to get around the traffic in order to mount any kind of challenge for the Pro-Am class win.
Incredible racing in this field here today. Thielitz in P2 in class. Ellis has cleared off a little bit to the tune of about 5 seconds for the Pro-Am win.
This is exactly what Philip Ellis was brought in here to do, to close the deal. Here filling in for Lorcan Hannafin with Jason Daskalos alongside. Sargent now has his next target just out the windscreen. Andy Lee able to stretch the gap, though, down that back straightaway. The Porsche's going to have to get him elsewhere, it would appear.
This is an awesome performance for Andy Lee. Great to see him having a car that he can showcase his talents with. Fantastic drive today.
It all started with Slade Stewart. Remember, they were one of 2 cars to elect to start this race on slicks. That was important because the track was very damp, with a short rainfall that had occurred just before the start of the race, but they rolled the dice, and that has then set them up for the rest of this run. But Lee's struggling a little bit now with that BMW, and he looks vulnerable all of a sudden.
Yeah, this sector of the racetrack looks like the Porsche is a little bit quicker. May have got a little bit of aero wash there down through the final part of the S's. Not ideal as you're really loading that left front through turn 4, and Lee is off the road.
Sargent will come through. Who will follow him? Luke Hartog's not on the lead lap. See how keen he is to get mixed up in all of this. Forces Lee on the defensive. The big thing that Hartog has done is it's split Lee from the next car in class, which is Yardley.
We can regroup here a little bit. It looks dramatic when you see the Georgia Clay flying. Obviously lost the position to Sargent with that bobble, but hopefully not too much damage to that BMW's aero.
But Sargent and Washington now up onto the podium in Pro-Am, where they have been all year long. Thielitz is the next one up the road. 1.6 seconds. Can Tom Sargent chase down Thielitz, and then can either of them do anything with Philip Ellis?
Well, the problem is Ellis's last lap was a 21.0, and everyone else in the Pro-Am field is running low to mid-21, so he's extending that gap up there.
Here is Tom. Now that he's clear of the traffic, maybe there's a little more pace to unlock, but as we've talked about a few times, traditionally GMG uses its set of sticker tires in the 3rd stint, not the 4th, and we're into the 4th here, so he might be on used tires up against fresher tires for the opposition.
You know Philip Ellis, he always wants to make a statement. How much thought does he have of not only the Pro-Am win, but an overall win? Last lap, He is about 2 to 3 tenths quicker than both Schandorf and Grenier. Could that muddle up the order up front? Could he actually help out JMF by getting around the Ferrari and pushing the Ferrari back? Remember, it's his teammate leading this race.
That's a great point. Ellis, they'll really be conflicted there. You also got to think about priority number one being the guy he's here to help, which is Jason Daskalos. But if he's got a chance to help the sister car too, why not?
I bet Danny Koch is on there and just explaining the situation. Listen, Mick has got a penalty. If the Ferrari sits on his tail, we're going to lose the win in Pro. If you can go and hassle that Ferrari, go get him without risk.
And wouldn't it be something if Philip Ellis could help deliver not 1 but 2 wins for JMF? A year ago, I started telling this story earlier.
We know he's good, but come on.
Right? Amanda made mention of this too. Jason Daskalos and Philip Ellis were racing against each other. Jason was with a different team. He was driver 2 a year ago, so he would or driver, yeah, it must have been. Anyway, he would be up against Philip Ellis frequently. And as a consequence, there was one race at Barber where actually Ellis was stuck behind Daskalos for a long period of time. Finally, on the final lap, there was a little bit of contact between the two. Daskalos spun, and Ellis, the sportsman that he was, actually stopped on the side of the track to make sure Daskalos got back through and got his deserved finishing position.
Yeah, it was just a great performance by Jason Daskalos. You expect Philip Ellis to drive by anyone, certainly in equal machinery, and he just wasn't able to. He couldn't find a way by Jason Daskalos. He stuck to his guns that day. A great performance. Unfortunately, there was the bump and run at the end, so that was really a disappointing end, and Philip took it on the nose and just said, hey, that was my fault there, just made a mistake in terms of getting too aggressive. But as you said, he gave the position back, but certainly got note of what Jason can do behind the wheel.
How about this lap from Ellis? Personal best sector 1, personal best sector 2. He's shaved off several tenths of a second that time by. How much better was it, Cal?
Well, he was 6 tenths quicker than Ferrari that he's chasing down, so he's going to be there shortly.
How about that?
Lots of time on the board. Still 45 minutes left in this motor race. Everyone's good to go to the finish in terms of not exceeding stint length time. Can he keep the balance on that Mercedes and go out and chase down the Ferrari and help out his teammate?
Two-time IMSA champion. He's also racked up quite a record in endurance racing here in the States. 3 times a winner at the 24 Hours of Daytona. Twice, including back-to-back years at 12 Hours of Sebring. He's won his class at Spa, won his class at the Nürburgring. One race he's never won, though, Philip Ellis, is Petit Le Mans right here at Road Atlanta. This isn't Petit Le Mans, but it would be awfully special for him to check that box here today.
Yeah, and we talked to guys like Antonio Garcia, who's never won this big race either here, but it's at the end of the year when there's typically, they're always in the championship fight, right. So they're thinking big picture rather than an individual race win.
Well, Philip's not thinking about his championship at all. He's here as a one-off, or basically a two-off, I guess, because he'll be back, as we learned earlier today, at Indianapolis with this same team, and regular driver Lorcan Hannafin back. So that's the fight at the front of the field. How about this one, though? Aaron Telitz losing ground to Tom Sargent, and that's how it's looked over the last 3 laps. Sargent made progress on laps 87 and 88, and has that gap down significantly now. It's within a half a second. In fact, it's basically a car length at this point.
Yeah, he's 3 tenths quicker than Telitz across the line the last time, and this is going to be a big stint for Aaron Telitz to try and hang on to that P2 position in class.
Morad still out in front of this battle. Telitz, who was brimming with confidence when we spoke with him earlier in the weekend. I thought he figured he'd be in the fight at the end of the race, but I'm not sure he was thinking it would be the fight for second and third.
I think ideally, I'd love to talk to Aaron after this race, whether ideally or normally it'd slow the car down a bit more for that entry to turn 7. I think if he does his normal thing, he's worried that Tom's just going to shove it down the inside there before they get to the long back straightaway. So I think Aaron is willing to give up the entry a little bit, or take more speed through the entry and give up the exit on the back straightaway, because he feels he's got an aero advantage down the back stretch, or more power on the other.
It's probably prudent, because Tom pulled that move to get by Yardley a handful of laps ago. Got an incident under review. Car 34, that's Grenier, and car 8. Is that right? The screen's awfully small, and I'm having trouble picking out my numbers. Yes, it is. So that's Vanier. could that be the pit lane interaction? And it doesn't say incident, it says interaction.
Yeah, so I would think that's just that one coming out of the pit lane. They're having another look at it or trying to see if there was any overlap there. The problem is now, how do you give it back? You're leading and Vanier's down in P8.
Right, and typically it's not really a penalty assessed so much as just a reversal of the positions, but yeah, that really can't be done after the restart.
And it's also hard to know. Do you know what I mean? When you're sitting in the race car, okay, someone's back there, but does he have an inch overlap on me or do I have an inch on him?
And you might say, okay, well, the team should just proactively tell their driver to give it back if there's some doubt, but I suspect they have the same angles we do, and from what we could tell, we really couldn't tell.
Yeah, it was awfully close. It looked like there was initially, but I just think that the 34 car maybe not fully up to minimum or maximum speed on pit lane. And the Porsche thought he's going to run into him.
Well, race control's looking at that right now. They've got 41 minutes to figure it out, preferably sooner rather than later, so that the parties involved can adjust depending on what the ruling might be. Tewitt's still fighting for all he's worth to keep Tom Sargent behind.
Tell you what, Grenier's putting a few tenths on Freddie here. Up to nearly 0.8 of a second.
Needs to be over 1.27, I think. That's the penalty I seem to recall being announced that Grenier is carrying. And is for being just slightly under the pit lane minimum. It ensured he was out in front of that Porsche, though. Well, we think he was, depending on that interaction situation.
I tell you what, if it's around a second with a lap to go, you know Grenier's going to be like putting in a quality lap to finish this motor race.
Oh, yeah.
Play some games possibly, maybe keep a little bit in your pocket.
Any thoughts on, ideally you would just pull away from Schandorf, but could he back Schandorf up to Ellis and wait for the reinforcements to arrive that way?
Well, you got to make a decision on that, and there's a lot of time left, so maybe he's just hoping that Ellis is going to get there and then get in front of Freddie and then just kind of stall him out a little bit and create the gap that Mick needs to suffice that post-race penalty time. But yeah, lots of options here, still so much time to go. They'll just wait and see how Ellis does and whether he can get to the Ferrari a little bit sooner in this motor race.
Phillips' progress has stalled somewhat, and it's actually going back the other way now. Growing to 1.6 seconds between Schandorf and Ellis.
The gap for Grenier is up a little bit now, up to 0.824.
But that's been fluctuating sector by sector as well. A sector ago, it was at half a second, so that could just be the difference in platform between the Mercedes and the Ferrari. Fastest sector 1, by the way, belongs to Tom Sargent.
By much.
Nope.
500's quicker than Freddie. Riley Dickinson's having a really strong run. Up to 7th in the Pro-Am class. Been moving forward. And good to see Rebel Rock having a decent day. Just outside the top 10 overall, but 8th in class.
This is massive. Improper pit procedures.
Ooh.
And that is an additional 5-second post-race time penalty now. That's heading the way of the 34 car.
That is massive. So I don't think just on pace he's going to be able to make that happen. So he's going to need help from his teammate.
Who has closed in again. Just as I said, he was falling away. Philip Ellis has said, actually, no, I'm going to go catch him now. And has arrived on the scene. Here he comes. Cavalry has arrived.
Yep. Maybe Mick doesn't need to slow it down. Philip just get to him and make the move, and then there's going to be some games being played, you'd have to think.
Let's go back to that interaction on the pit lane. And again, the thing to be watching for here, is there any overlap between Porsche and Mercedes? What do you think?
Really see any.
Is there any trouble with just going straight out as he did to the fast lane rather than transitioning to the transition lane and then moving?
I don't think there's a time that you have to be in the transition necessarily, so I've got to feel that they felt that, you know, he just moved across and caused the Porsche to lift. You know, again, he's released a little bit later, so you know the Porsche are already up to speed, and it's just that getting the car up to 50k.
Right.
That caused he's almost blocking him versus any overlap.
Proper pit procedures. That is the violation that's been handed down. You are expected to accelerate to pit lane
50K.
speed immediately.
Yeah, 50 kilometers an hour.
So, and race control does have telemetry. If they saw that he wasn't getting up to speed and pulling in front of a car, could that have caught their attention?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's going to want to leap out there and get there, so I don't think he'd be playing any games in not being up to speed. And he certainly didn't have any pit speed issues, otherwise that would be on the notice board. So I think it's just that he kind of went late, just dove across, and maybe they feel that he caused the Porsche to lift before he got up to speed. But that's a tough one for JMF to take, I think. But obviously we don't know all of the minute details on the penalty.
Now, massive consequences, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. What does Ellis do to help the scenario? And there he is.
Yep.
Right underneath the rear wing of that Ferrari coming down the front stretch.
Fred Schandorf is the meat in a JMF Motorsports sandwich. 2 Mercedes flanking this Ferrari. Schandorf's had his chances to make a move on Grenier. Maybe he didn't want to because he knew that Grenier was carrying that penalty. But if that was the case, by sitting patiently behind, now that's allowed Philip Ellis to enter into this conversation.
Starting to get a little bit more clarity on this penalty. I think to your point, he got over there. I think that was good, but he didn't get all the way up to 50 kilometers per hour. The reason being is he released early. And by not going up to full speed, we talked about that, playing a little game there by jumping out, but then not getting all the way up to speed. So yes, he was still a 10th plus shy, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Excuse me, a second too quick. And if he'd gone to even full speed, he'd have been outside of the Joker. Here we see Ellis with a big run down the back stretch, almost trading paint there. Argy-bargy into the brake zone. Schandorf comes back at him.
Ellis bails out of the move, looking to get the crossover here. What this has done is it slowed Schandorf down significantly. This would have been perfect if it was just that 1.2 second penalty that Grenier is carrying, because it's opened the gap up now to 1.5. Trouble is, there's now that extra 5 seconds coming the way of the overall leading car.
Yeah, just reiterating what we were talking about there, we believe for the 34 car, he leapt out, realized he's going to be too quick on pit lane by jumping early, then tried to control that and minimize the damage, which he did. He was still, you know, a tenth and a bit too quick. And they felt that he manipulated his speed there and wasn't up to full speed when he got to the fast lane. Yep. That's really the best interpretation we can have without talking directly to race control.
Now, I think that puts all of the different pieces together to form a coherent puzzle. So I like where your head's at there, Cal. Couple of developments further down the order. You gave a call to Rebel Rock, and deservedly so. They had just had a pit stop a couple of laps ago. That's dropped them down to 10th. And similar story for Riley Dickinson. That car also just served an additional pit stop here with 33 minutes left on the clock.
Love the pace, though. Fastest lap of the day, 121.3. That's really great for that Rebel Rock Racing group. I mean, the Aston Martin, you know, I think there's other manufacturers out there a little bit easier to drive, maybe a better balance like the Mercedes and stuff. So I think that's a really solid effort for that group as they get their head around competing in GT3 for the first time, and with that platform as well.
Nervous look on the face of Jason Daskalos. All he can do is watch on as his hired gun tries to take this car home. Right now, he's in possession, and firmly so, of the class lead. But what part can he play in the pro battle?
How much of a team player does Jason Daskalos want to be here in terms of his teammate for the day? Getting in front and stalling out that Ferrari.
Well, here's the thing. With the win and the other Pro-Am cars running as they are, this would bring Daskalos to within 35 points of the championship lead.
Yeah, that's a big jump for him because they haven't had the best of seasons so far here. Hannaford obviously had a good run at Sebring with a P3, first podium of the year.
Well, to put it in perspective, through 3 races, they had accumulated 17 points. A win, they would have 25 more, so they would surpass easily what they had earned through 3 races in one fell swoop here this afternoon.
Obviously, Hannafin and Jason will be separated in points for the rest of the season.
Right.
Okay, Philip, what are you going to do here? What's your decision? Down to 31 minutes and change to go in this motor race. Do you have any speed left in the Mercedes? Can you get to the tail of the Ferrari? Did he use his tires up in this charge up to catch them?
What would you do if you were in Philip Ellis's shoes?
Well, he's a Mercedes factory driver, so you know he's going to try and help out the brand as best he can. And that would certainly be helping their cause in the Pro Championship, even though the Turner Motorsports Day has been cut short, their closest pursuer.
Checking in here on the lap times between the two. Battle for second overall. Schandorf has had the edge in 2 of the last 3 laps.
Wow.
But it's not by much.
He is pushing hard up and over the curb there on the entry to turn 7, just try to widen that radius, but that really gives you arms and elbows through the apex of that corner.
Is there another GT driver globally that has had more success in the last 1.5 years than Philip Ellis?
I don't know about that. I mean, he's had some big wins. Here he comes again, big run. Schandorf takes to the middle of the road. Ellis thinks about the inside, but look how dirty it is there. You can see the red Georgia clay has stained the racetrack. There's not a ton of grip there if you go all the way inside.
Philip throwing everything he's got at Fred Schandorf. This is again allowing Michael Grenier to pull away, but remember, just over 6 seconds worth of post-race penalties are coming the way of Grenier and the overall leading car. That would drop them behind Schandorf and give the overall race win to AF Corse and Ferrari.
This is the first time that Grenier's had to deal with post-race penalties, recall. I think it was Coda, right,
It
where he
was.
had a similar situation, had to extend the gap over Foley, I think that was on
Which
that
is
day.
how Yardley and Musial ended up winning that race overall. Remember, Yardley didn't know the situation, got passed on the road, and was all down on himself because he wanted that overall win, and it ended up getting reversed anyway with the penalty post-race.
Thielitz has done an awesome job here. He's really feeling the heat from behind. I think that Porsche was really quick through the twisty bits.
Thielitz has been great in this rear guard action here because I think it's pretty clear there is more pace at this stage in the race in the Porsche, but Thielitz just has not cracked under pressure to give Sargent a chance to do anything about it.
Hard to believe they only have a single point on the season for Thielitz and Coleman.
And you would hope that's in the back of Aaron's mind. Don't throw this away, being too aggressive in defense here, right? Even a 3rd place would be a pretty big shot in the arm for that team, and less than they deserve, admittedly, but that would be the first real result of the year.
Okay. Schandorf doing a great job as well. He's managing this situation. He'll know the team will have alerted him to the penalty, the double penalty on the 34.
And they'll need to alert him that he's been warned for blocking now.
Well, that, oh, big wiggle there. Just grabbed too much of that curb there. Nearly turned him. Just really fast hands there by Freddie to control the Ferrari.
Somehow he kept his foot in it, and it didn't allow Ellis to close in all that much. Speaking of closing in.
Morad's right there.
Yes, he is.
Lap down.
But another Mercedes.
That's right.
And here's something to think about. Remember at the top of the show, we talked about the global GT World Challenge manufacturers standings. We'll talk about that in a second because here comes Ellis. Got a great run. He's alongside the Ferrari this time, working that side draft. Schandorf tried to fight back, but Ellis sweeps across the nose. He is through. That is for 2nd overall. No class positions changing hands now, but Philip Ellis can be the ideal tail gunner now for his teammate Mick Grenier.
Yeah, what a piece of racecraft there for Philip Ellis. Just awesome job there, just managing that superbly. Schandorf knew that he had a blocking warning, so he couldn't get too aggressive. Just beautifully timed and beautifully managed into the brake zone.
So now he's got to think about, after all these laps of having to go as fast as possible, try and make the pass. Now he has to go as slow as possible without being passed.
Well, we believe that's what he's doing, but maybe
True.
he's just thinking, I want to get to the front and win this race overall. I'm not playing any team games here, so let's wait and see.
But here's one thing where this does matter, as I was saying, in that global manufacturer standings. That penalty would have put a Mercedes behind a Ferrari. Ferrari would have scored more manufacturers' points, but now that it's a Mercedes ahead of the Ferrari, the second Mercedes that means maximum points for Mercedes in that global standings we've been talking about.
I like the way you're thinking. Big picture.
Amanda is down in the pits, monitoring the situation. What can you tell us?
Hey guys, yeah, it's like a tale of two cities down here between the JMF Mercedes. I'm told that Mick Grenier, my box down here, they want to do some investigative work per the engineer. So not sure when we might see that. Actually, I think the team has called that off, as I just got a signal for that. So yes, no celebrations happening down here. So maybe Philip Ellis can be the savior of the day for both teams, right, Jason?
As Jason Daskalos trying to smile through the nerves, chewing on his finger there. Can't rest easy just yet. Ellis is catching his teammate here. Schandorf is falling away, even without Ellis really doing anything to actively influence that.
Yeah.
But there's still 4+ seconds that Grenier needs to find in order to preserve this victory in the Pro Class.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, so interesting here. I mean, Ellis didn't suddenly get in front of him and just sort of like back off the pace, did he? He's just gone on to try and chase down his teammate. Maybe he's saying, well, if you want a Mercedes to play a game in this, ask Daniel Morad, go down, knock on the door of the TR3 group.
And there's the fight for second place in Pro-Am. Thielitz under duress now. This is as threatening as the Porsche has looked. Trouble has been. And McLaren's been really quick in a straight line. Right now, Thielitz trying to play the defensive game. Which side of the track does he leave open? Sargent looking to the inside, not close enough.
Yeah, I think he was as close as he'd ever been there as they came across the crest and down into the dip there into that brake zone, but still nothing he could do. Aaron's really doing a great job of managing these brake zones, whether it's a low-speed corner like turn 7, and certainly that one into the prime overtaking opportunity on this racetrack.
How tough is it to be in Aaron Thielitz's shoes, where you have been under constant pressure for the better part of an hour at this point?
Yeah, and let's not forget about the conditions. Yeah, we had that rain shower come through, or a little storm, and cool things off a little bit, but this is torturous for these drivers in this sort of ambient heat. The humidity is insane, and when you got the pressure from behind, you're 10/10ths right now, and this is a big, big double stint for Aaron Thielitz.
61% humidity. That is adding to the complication, like you said, Cal. On a hot afternoon in Georgia. The two young pros that spend a lot of time working on their fitness for exactly these kinds of situations. Big moment here. Thielitz and Coleman trying to hold on for a breakthrough result. Meanwhile, Washington and Sargent trying to get around. That would be, how many extra points would that be? 3 if they were able to make the pass?
Yep.
Could prove crucial at the end of the year.
Yep. 18 points for second, 15 for third. Look at this. Ellis is right with his teammate. You got that Ferrari sitting just a couple of seconds back. Schandorf still in prime position to take that pro victory.
He is 2.3 seconds in arrears.
Ellis could probably say, you know what, Thielitz and Sargent ain't exactly in a different zip code to me. I can't afford to mess around here and threaten my Pro-Am victory with Jason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he starts backing Freddie back and costing both of them lap time.
Oh, you're right. Speed of these two cars makes that a more difficult ask. Would love to know, love to be a fly on the wall, or at least have a bug in the radio system of JMF Motorsports to know what they're telling their two drivers right now.
Well, I think they would have painted the picture, at least for Philip. Do you know what I mean? For sure they would have said, because right now, let's not forget, this is going to give Philip Ellis the overall win anyway, even if he follows his teammate. So if we think about he's going for the overall win, that's in his hands already because of the post-race penalties. So he doesn't need to pass him to get that victory.
Oh, yeah. There should be no incentive for Ellis to pass Grenier.
Other than
pride. Pride comes before the fall, Calvin. Never forget it.
May have been gone for a few months, but let's just recognize who's the man in this championship.
22 minutes to go. Still so much left to unfold. Schandorf just lost another 0.8 of a second on that lap. It's now 3 seconds his deficit to Grenier.
Yeah, for Freddie, he's just got to hope that that balance stays with that Ferrari. If he starts to lose a few tenths, we've still got a long way to go in this race. Probably looking at 14, 15 laps.
Oh, a lot of curb there for Tielitz. This is a part of the track he needs to excel at, so he's not vulnerable down into the passing zone here.
This is where it gets tough, when the tires lose their edge a little bit. They're not as grippy this deep into the stint. Yes, the car is getting a little bit lighter, which gives you performance, but in these type of conditions, you got to feel that the tires are falling away a little bit. You're physically exhausted, you're overheated. Mentally, you then start to make that little tiny error, and this is a racetrack where you have to be spot on with hitting your marks.
Morad is slowly but surely catching Freddie Schandorf. Meanwhile, Sargent not as close as he was a few laps ago. Can't make the move. Tielitz hangs on.
I think he's doing the right thing. He's just sitting there, just feeling it out, just really analyzing every possible chink in the armor of Aaron Tielitz in that McLaren, and maybe looking for a surprise move.
Todd Coleman started this McLaren. It's Aaron Tielitz piloting it now, but Todd is with the band and would love to hear his thoughts.
We were just talking off camera of what's possible for this team, and he said a lot with the full course yellow, but when you look at the work that Aaron is doing out there, do you kind of watch along as like a proud pop in a way?
More anxious than anything. I mean, I'm looking around, I was saying earlier, I don't like that Sargent's so close that I actually can't see his number behind Aaron's number while we're watching it going around the track. So I'd like to have some distance. And then we have Morad sitting in the middle of all this. So who knows how this is going to actually ultimately show.
What did you say, that Aaron is literally driving his butt off?
Aaron is literally driving his butt off, for sure. I'd say something else, but pretty sure we're live broadcast.
Probably down 5 pounds in that McLaren, guys.
I hope it's not literally going to cost him his butt. That would be unfortunate. But you get the point.
Yeah, I think Aaron's really taken his driving to a whole new level over the last year. He's always been top-notch pilot, but I think now he's getting that sort of confidence going. Had a big win at Long Beach earlier this year.
Sure did.
You know, he's had several other great podium runs go awry with a little bit of, you know, bad luck. So these ones you just want to bring home. I'm sure he wants to reward Todd for the support that he's given him and the opportunity with the team, the group. And he's doing everything he can to hang on to this.
Well, you touched on something I wanted to go to next anyway, which is the relationship between Aaron and Todd. They've been working together for quite a few years now. And it's not just about what you do on the racetrack. You talk about this all the time. It's also about the interpersonal connection that you have between driver, coach, and gentleman driver, making it a pleasant experience when you're at the racetrack, when you're at dinner, when you're traveling to and from the different places that we go.
Yeah, it's like a marriage, right? Oh, was that a touch there, or was it just a bobble where he got a little bit more of the curb on exit there for Aaron Tielitz? It almost looked to me like the Porsche had roughed him up a little bit. I think it was just a bobble there with Tielitz, but he didn't get a good launch off a 7. Now he's more vulnerable than ever. Possibility here for Tom Sargent. Tielitz is going to take the middle of the road into the brake zone, then comes back across. Sargent looks to the inside, has to arrest the speed one more time.
Tielitz really clever with his car placement there. He didn't make it clear which way to go for Sargent. Didn't fall for his dummy either. And despite either the touch or the miscue, whatever the case, was able to hang on to that position.
Yeah, I don't see any damage to the front end of that Porsche, even though it's hard to see at these sort of speeds through turn 1. But nonetheless, that was awfully close. If there wasn't a touch, there wasn't much in it.
As you were saying, it's like a marriage.
Yeah, I mean, you just spend so much time together. You want to enjoy the company. You become best friends. And I think Todd Coleman and Aaron Tielitz have certainly done that. A lot of respect between both of them. And certainly, oh, big sideways move there up the hill. Andy Lee, Yardley's all over him. looking for that P4 position.
Andy Lee in the pink and white.
Brown is down to the inside of Yardley on his teammate.
Don't see a move there every day.
Woo!
Hartog also thinking about making a move. Wow, that was aggressive from Colin.
This looks like a Porsche One-Make Championship has broken out there.
Well, a lot of these guys graduated from exactly such a championship.
Look at that, there's 6 of them together.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, Porsche's here in numbers. This is fascinating. Ellis is challenging his teammate Grenier for the lead of the race when Grenier is carrying a time penalty.
Unbelievable. Danny Koch will be like Toto Wolff in pit lane right now, trying to handle his young Chargers here.
Oh. Philip Ellis was fully alongside, and that's let Schandorf come closer to the tune of about 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any team play here in terms of keeping that Ferrari at bay. I think Ellis just wanting that overall win. And as we said, he's got it already
get it anyway
with the post-race penalty, but I think he just wants to make a statement here, but he's got to be careful.
Philip, we know you're good. You don't have to prove it.
I'm trying to think if he and Mick run together. They must have done over the years, right?
Surely.
Some of the Enduro, surely.
Let me do
All
a little
part of the
digging.
AMG driver roster for many years. Either way, I'm sure they know each other well, whether it's sharing a car or being part of a fitness camp in the off-season.
If they have, it hasn't been in a couple of years.
AMG group watching on there with Jason Daskalos. Here comes Philip Ellis once again. Ooh, this is getting super dicey here on a part of the racetrack where there's not a ton of grip. Mick gives him a little bit of room at apex in 10A, then just kind of stalls him out. Ellis to the inside. This is going to be super sketchy coming down the hill.
Two teammates side by side, and the Pro-Am leader Ellis is through to the overall lead of the race, to the approval of Jason Daskalos. But this has been manna from heaven for Frederick Schandorf, who has caught back up to Grenier and now is, without a question, within range of capitalizing on that post-race penalty.
Yeah, Grenier's got to be saying, what is going on, team? Help me out here. I need help. I don't need hindrance here. I don't need my teammate chewing me up like this. Philip Ellis making a statement on his return. First drive in 2026 in SRO. He's gone to the front overall and leads in Pro-Am, obviously, at the same time.
And you asked the question, have they raced together? I believe they won their class at the 24 Hours of Spa together back in 2024. So yes, is the short answer. As expected, two Mercedes factory drivers who had gone to a lot of the same fitness camps. They would have spent a lot of time with one another, raced against each other quite a bit too, but no cooperation was in evidence there moments ago as Ellis has driven to the lead of the race. And his teammate now very much vulnerable to the post-race time penalty that he's carrying.
Tielitz has gapped Sargent there by a little bit. That's the most comfortable margin he's had in a long, long time. I have to wonder if Tom Sargent did go with that strategy of running used tires to finish off this race, whether they're spotting him a little bit here.
Riley Dickinson putting some pressure on Colin Brown, thought maybe he'd make the move there. That's the second of the three Porsches in the shot. Well, keep an eye on this battle, which is for 4th, 5th, and 6th in Pro-Am, and further back as well for that matter. But a chance to hear on the JMF situation what Amanda has found out.
I was talking to John Farrow as Philip Ellis made the move on Mick Grenier and asked if there were any team orders, and he said no team orders here, that he was so just proud and happy of what's been able to come together for Jason Daskalos out here. Jason, we keep watching along. I think he looked over at us at one point and said, "This is nerve-wracking."
That sums it up nicely. No disagreement from where we're sitting either in the final 15 minutes, down to 13 minutes, 15 seconds, in fact. This could be a pretty good day for Slade Stewart and Andy Lee, but he's got some work to do to hang on. We saw how brave Colin Brown was willing to be a few moments ago, getting by Ryan Yardley, and he got a nice jump there out of 7. Brown now already taking a peek to the outside, sets back in line to get the slipstream, and Dickinson might have got an even better run.
He does. He gets a big run. That BMW is showing its strength here down the back stretch once again. Look at the two Porsches almost glued together there.
Yeah, the BMW gaps them both. Dickinson decides not to put the pressure on Colin Brown that time. I think that's because Dickinson's not on the same lap. Oh, here comes Brown. He saw a gap to the inside, down into turn 12, and he is through and gone. And he's bringing Dickinson with him. Yardley might try to follow him through as well.
Yeah, you're spot on there. Obviously, Dickinson had that pit stop not long ago, so he is the lap down.
And that does move the Kelly Moss entry of Brown up to 4th. Lee drops down to 5th. Yardley will try and size him up next.
Really great drive
Actually,
by
Yardley's
Colin.
through too, isn't he? Yes, he is. Sorry to jump in on you.
Yeah, no problem. So Andy Lee has dropped back a little bit, just fighting that BMW. That big lurid movement we saw up through turn 1 is kind of an indicator there that maybe his tires given up on him a little bit, and he's just abused them earlier in the stint. Again, many ways of strategy in terms of when you choose to use your fresh tires versus your qualifying set.
This becomes an interesting conundrum. Grenier and Schandorf. Schandorf doesn't need to pass Grenier on the road. As we've chronicled, that car is carrying 2 different penalties that add up to 6.1, 6.2 seconds, basically, post-race time added. So Schandorf doesn't need to go, except that Tielitz and Sargent are now on the scene, and they're in a battle of their own and not willing to wait around. I suspect they're willing to get plenty aggressive if that helps them in their own fight.
Absolutely. That could really play a part here, because we've still got nearly 11 minutes to go in this motor race, and Tielitz can't manage this and just say, I don't want to get involved in the battle with pro cars. I think Sargent's going to push him forward towards the Ferrari and the JMF Mercedes at the same time.
Grenier's car not quite as compliant as it looked early in the stint. Schandorf's car looks better than it did about midway through this stint. Up and over the curb there, goes bounding with 2 left side wheels over the bump. That's just past the curbing and corner exit in turn 7. Ferrari looking like it could be a threat here to making this pass on the road. How much is Schandorf willing to risk?
As you said, that orange McLaren is getting ever closer. That could force the hand of Schandorf. I think it'd be pretty wise just to sit there and follow Mick across the line at the finish here with the post-race penalties, but I think it's being forced a little bit by the pace of that McLaren and the chasing Tom Sargent as well at the same time.
Brown and Dickinson running in lockstep, even though these are cars running close together.
Didn't we see Dickinson getting to the side of Collins somewhere this year?
It does sound
Sebring,
familiar.
I thought, yeah.
But Dickinson stuck down in 11th right now, so this would not be for position. Colin, no sense trying to defend this too much. And actually, to Riley's credit, while Colin was working that traffic earlier, Riley was very consistent, staying directly behind and not even poking the nose out of line to let Colin focus on what was ahead, and that was trying to unlock the Andy Lee puzzle.
Yeah, this team testing. Oh, here we go, coming off at turn 7. Mick Grenier a little bit wide, Ferrari right there with him, and Tielitz is ever closer at the same time.
Oh yeah, Tielitz is on the headlight flasher button. He knows he could be there by the end of this straightaway. Grenier with Schandorf. You could barely even see the Ferrari. It was tucked in underneath the rear wing of the Mercedes, and he is through. Here comes Tielitz trying to follow him. Grenier will just let that go.
Yeah, I just think he's thinking big picture of the championship. You know what? With that penalty, I'm not going to gap the Ferrari by 5 seconds, so why fight it? Just let it happen.
And there was the report from Amanda that they were considering coming in to check on something. So maybe there's some kind of intermittent technical issue that we're not aware of that's also hampered his pace potential.
Yeah, certainly a possibility, but he certainly had strong pace, maybe not ultimate pace, but I don't think they've really had that in the car all weekend long, to be honest with you. And, you know, why you'd come in and check something out when you got the lead of the motor race. Here we go. Schandorf looks to the inside. Was there a little bump and run? That was tight.
Type of fair?
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
That would be my read.
Try to win motor races here. Not play tiddlywinks.
This is much more fun. In my unsolicited opinion. Here comes Sargent. Big opposite lock moment there as he tried to put the power down. He knows he's got to get a really good jump out of 7 because the straight line speed of the McLaren has been so stout.
It really has. He's got to be so frustrated. He's just got to be playing mental games with himself in terms of how can I get on the pad that little bit early and be that little bit closer.
Behind the lapped car of Morad will also play through around Grenier. Grenier is well ahead of Vanier. That's the next car in the Pro Class, the only other one that's still running. And as long as he stays over 6 seconds and change ahead of Vanier, then second place points will go the way of JMF.
Yeah, so I think he's just thinking big picture. You know what? We're not going to win today. We're going to take second place points and move on. It's a big break to Road America after the DNF at Sebring. They couldn't afford to have another bad points-paying day despite Turner Motorsports being out earlier in this race with Robbie Foley and Justin Rothberg. For Mick Grenier, I think this is the right call. Yes, he may have something technically going on with the race car, which has backed up his pace here, certainly in the last 5 minutes or so, but I think this is just big picture thinking, knowing the gap, as you said, to Vanier is big enough that he doesn't have to worry.
We should stop for a moment to consider the significance of this result for AF Corsa, and especially Matthias Perez-Kompank, his teammate. Fred Schandorf's won many big races and championships in his career, but for Matthias, so far, best finish second back in the season opener. We felt like if Matthias could come up to speed with this Ferrari, that this could be a team and driver lineup to contend with in the second half of the season. And I thought his opening stint, he told us he didn't have much experience at all in a GT3 car in the wet. This was almost harder than just wet because it started off damp, but it dried out, and now you're stuck on the wrong tire in the wrong conditions. Felt like he managed that quite well and made sure he preserved the car for Schandorf to do his thing.
Yeah, really savvy drive, just really demonstrates the kid has got a lot of talent and got the smarts to go with it. So, but when we think about points, I mean, we talk about Rothberg and Foley closing in. Obviously, that result at Sebring closed in Schandorf and Kompank anyway. They came into this round 15 points back. That'll only be, what, 8 points
Correct.
leaving, so.
And that would move them up to second as well. They would jump Rothberg and Foley, who are now 11 points back as they run. In some respects, all of these Pro Class cars have capitalized on the misfortune for Dolomite Racing. I thought a really good result might have been in the offing for that Mustang, but it dropped out with a technical issue before halfway.
Yeah, that's such a shame to see those guys go out from the lead of the motor race early on. Obviously, there was a lot to develop through the course of the day, and some of the cars have really shown a lot more speed in the second half of this race, but a solid day for Dolomite Racing went away on them. Sargent is really driving the wheels off that Porsche. He was up and over the curb there on the entry to turn 7, just trying to figure out a bigger radius somehow through that final corner on the back straightaway.
We've been wondering about the pace of Mikhail Grenier. Amanda's been stationed down in the JMF pits. Can you solve this riddle for us?
Yeah, guys, I'm still looking at this team. You know, Calvin, I know you just mentioned that I said in my report that the 34 Mercedes might be making its way to pit lane here eventually, or if something was going on. I'm seeing some team members over the wall again, and I heard one of the crew guys say, hey, we might need to get ready here. You see Braden Arthur actually in his race suit holding that fire bottle. In talking to what potentially might be going on with the team, I think they're still trying to assess it from the engineer side, but you look at the implications here. They are currently roughly a 20-second delta ahead of that pro entry of McCann Racing with second in points. If they were to bring it down pit lane here, would effectively move this car to third after we know coming off of that fire in Sebring and a finish that was not what this team is capable of.
Right.
Yeah, I think unless there's alarms going off, you just got to keep running now. There's only, what, 3.5 minutes to go in this race, so just keep trudging here and pull off a really solid result. I mean, when you're a championship leader, P2s are not going to hurt you too bad.
Here's the thing. If the engine blows or whatever, you've got a month and a half to get it figured out before the next race. It's not like you got to turn it around with a quick turnaround for, you know, something a couple of weeks down the road or something like that. So I'm in agreement. Don't, unless you absolutely must, don't call that car into the pits and at least make sure you can salvage second place today.
Yeah, maybe when we see the checkered flag eventually, if he just suddenly pulls off, you know there's something going on with the race car and he doesn't want to do any further damage. We'll have to wait and see on this, but this is still really, really close here for that P2 position in Pro-Am. Aaron Telitz, what a incredible drive, incredible pressure from Tom Sargent. Flash in the headlights, I don't think that's going to do anything at this stage of the game. I think he knows you're there.
Aaron has had Tom directly behind him almost this entire stint. I don't know how much Aaron's been looking in the rearview mirror, but I suspect enough to at least contemplate what his favorite flavor of e-boost might be.
I think Tom Sargent's been having heavy doses of e-boost this championship season because he has been phenomenal behind the wheel of this GMG machine.
Here's the significance, though, for Sargent and Washington in the championship battle. They're the points leaders coming in. They're running ahead of their closest competitors. In fact, most of them aren't having much to write home about here in terms of the day-to-day. To make sure, where is Yardley? He is still fifth. So right now, it would be a 12-point lead for Washington and Sargent if they finish where they are. If they were able to get around, though, it would extend to a 15-point advantage. Such is the difference, scoring second place points versus third. Does that check out?
Yep, with Yardley there in the top 5, certainly. Yeah, so it's important points, and Tom knows that because they're having a great year, been super consistent. Yes, they'd extend the championship lead, but you only need to have a weekend in Pro-Am as deep as this field is, and you can lose a bundle.
Just ask JP Martinez and Jan Halen, who came in 14 points out of the championship lead. They'll score none today, and as they run, they would now be 29 back, with the potential of that becoming 32, depending on the outcome of this battle.
How much confidence does Aaron Telitz have, knowing that Sargent has been there lap in, lap out, and had no answer to getting by this McLaren? The gap's a little bit bigger than it's been in the previous 2 or 3 laps here. Just hit his marks, no worries this time through.
This is one of the best defensive stints I can remember in recent memory for Aaron Telitz, what he has done withstanding all of that pressure. Meanwhile, the white flag waves and a fairy tale weekend is now 2.5 miles away from coming to fruition. Philip Ellis and Jason Daskalos 1 lap away from an overall race win.
Shandorf, solid day for that group. Wow. First pro win of the year. Ferrari's been quick, but look up at the top of the hill there. Sargent has not given up hope on wrestling that position away from Aaron Telitz. Nipping at those curbs down through the S's.
Telitz needs to be inch perfect. Just half a lap to go from here. Crucial section coming up.
Nail turn 5. That is beautifully driven there. He really used a lot of the curb. It's very compliant, that McLaren, up and over the curbs there on the approach and through the apex.
Tom Sargent's fate might be sealed right here. Can he get a good run out of 7? That was pretty solid. He is tucked up under the rear wing of the McLaren. This is for second place in Pro-Am on the final lap.
This is going to be as close as it gets. Shandov is not in the picture. He's not going to be a fact here. It's all about Washington. How deep can he take it? Does he have any ace up his sleeve right now?
Sargent looks to the inside. Is he going to try the move? He wasn't close enough. Telitz fins off one more thrust, and he looks set to take home second place. But at the front of the field, Philip Ellis is called in to replace Lorcan Hannafin this weekend and delivers Jason Daskalos an overall race win. Second place to Fred Schandorf and Matthias Perez Compact at AF Corsa. Telitz does hang on to second place in Pro-Am ahead of Sargent, while Grenier crosses the line to take second place points here today at Road Atlanta.
What a day for JMF. Incredible.
Certainly was.
First win in Pro-Am this year and extend their lead in the Pro division.
Haven't talked much about Benny Simonson and Jay Schreibman here today. Running unopposed in the AM class. This, though, is what they were trying to accomplish here today. Just running all the laps, putting in pretty good lap times. They were there or thereabouts. And Simonson on relief duty, filling in for the veteran Oz Negri, sees the checkered flag. Benny Simonson and Jay Schreibman have taken it home 14th overall. But the overall win to JMF Motorsports. Philip Ellis is in the car. Jason Daskalos is with Amanda.
You got to think of the SRO America paddock and Jason Daskalos stepping up into GT World Challenge America here this season. And Jason, you have given so much credit to the team week in, week out. How much credit will you give to Jason Daskalos today?
I appreciate that, Amanda. I mean, I'm humble. I work hard, not only here at the racetrack, but at home. My family's here. All my family's here. My sister, my brother-in-law, my mom, my dad, my kids, my fiance. So this is amazing, and we're flying to Greece tomorrow for a month. So this is just amazing.
Well, we'll see you at podium. I'm sure you got some words for Philip Ellis.
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you.
Congratulations, and that will be a special vacation. Wonder if he'll take the trophy with him.
Be pretty cool. Drink a few cocktails out of that, hopefully. But it's his first win at this level, right?
It is, yes. They were runners-up. He was a runner-up last year at Circuit of the Americas Race 2, but first GT World Challenge America win for Jason Daskalos. It was a 2.5-second gap at the line, courtesy of Philip Ellis. But again, Jason had to start this race on dry tires in the wet. One of only 2 teams to commit to that right off the bounce, and it paid off in spades. Schandorf and Perez compact victory for AF Corsa in the pro class. Thielitz and Coleman, not a win, and I know that's what they were targeting, but I think they could be happy as hard as they had to fight to get up there to second place.
Awesome performance by Todd and Aaron. Just great day for them.
I literally cannot wait to talk
Sargent
to Aaron Thielitz.
and Washington sitting there in third, completing the podium. They'll extend their championship lead with that run. Colin Brown and Michael Clark, that was very under the radar. Colin with some big moves late, but that gets them to a top 5 overall, just off the podium in class. Then Stevens and Grenier drop down to 6th on adjusted time. Yardley and Musial, Vanier and McCann, another podium for that pairing, despite an up and down start to the day. Andy Lee and Slade Stewart thought maybe a podium was in the offing. I think they'll still be reasonably pleased. Morad and Williams still actually salvaged some points today, despite all of their issues. Ahead of Dickinson, Hartog, Liddell, etc. And then Simonson and Schreiben should point out M-Class entry finishes 2 laps down to the overall leader, but a solid 14th and a trouble-free day for them. That's the way it ended here at Road Atlanta. And with that, Calvin, just 3 races left to go this season. 3 hours apiece at Road America and Barber, and then 8 hours to close things off at Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's going to be a big break as we breathe for a little bit here in North America, and a lot of these competitors will head over to Spa, or a handful of them anyway. So yeah, we take the big break, come back at Road America, another classic racetrack, and Barber's always a lot of fun, and then the big Indy 8 out to finish off the season.
That's Fred Schandorf out of his car. He certainly earned it today. Should reiterate just how hot it is here in Braselton, Georgia, and he had to work really hard in that final stint, as did Philip Ellis, who's posing for some photos. He's, I think, made a nice new home for himself here with JMF. There's the team boss coming by, John Farrow, to congratulate his new charge.
Yeah, he's going to fit nicely into any Mercedes, and awesome job there.
There's Benny Simonson. See the Danish flag on his helmet. Pretty good day for the Danes here, all things considered. Schandorf up there winning in Pro. We've got our M-Class winner here, one of them at least, from Denmark as well. On Le Mans weekend, which has seen Denmark play a big role over the years in that famous race, of course. Oh, there's the hugs. Jason Daskalos there to celebrate with Philip Ellis, who in his return to GT World Challenge America returns back to Victory Lane, albeit a Victory Lane I'm not sure he's ever been to before. I mentioned he's never won Petit Le Mans. I don't know if he would have ever won anything else here before. But special result for sure. Let's hear from them now with Amanda.
Well, I just pulled Jason Daskalos, so he was in a beautiful embrace with his father, who came right over here to congratulate him. Philip Ellis, back in the series, doing Philip Ellis things. When you knew you had the ability to get there, what kicked in for you?
Just the usual. You know, just being in the zone, driving the car, what it can do. managing the tires in the heat. And initially, to be honest, we didn't look too strong, so I didn't think we'd really catch up. And I guess we just managed it a bit better in the beginning of the final stint, and then the other guys ran out of tires. And then we had a tough call with the sister car, of course, because I knew they were fighting for the overall win still. But yeah, I think we saw that we had a bit more pace and just tried to open the gap rather than risking both wins.
How excited does this make you for the Indy 8 Hour?
Super excited. It's amazing to have Philip. He's incredible, both coaching and driving, obviously. So super excited.
Congratulations to Jason Dasklos and to Philip Ellis. We're going to move on to our AM winners who are catching their breath after their venture here at Road Atlanta as well. And not bad for a call-in for this weekend. What do you make of the experience?
That was a mega experience, obviously. First of all, it's a bucket list track in the world to get to drive this beautiful track. And yeah, Jay did an awesome job. I mean, he was really the star of the show. His pace was incredible. So he did all the hard work. I just had to cruise around and bring the car home. But yeah, he drove absolutely awesome. So
Jay, I know we are missing Oz Negri, but what a recommendation by the guy.
Amazing. Benny did an awesome job. The team gave me a mega car. Just a great drive. The pace was superb. I was having a lot of fun out there. I almost didn't want to give him the car, but it was a great day. And shout out to my brother Oz, all my sponsors, GFL. We love you guys. Thank you.
Oz, we miss you.
We do indeed. Not quite the same not having him here, but his chosen replacement, Benny Simonson, certainly delivered. And great to hear that from Jay. I know he's put a lot of work into being as fit as possible for these races. There have been times where I think he's been pretty happy to get out of his race car. And here he is on a hot day like this saying, I didn't want to relinquish the controls.
Yeah, he put down some really solid lap times there during his stint. So a great job. He set the stage for Benny to seal the deal there and just drive it home. But really great performance. And Jay's come a long way in the last couple of years. And as he said, he misses Oz. We miss you, mate. Get back, get healthy. And hopefully we'll see Oz at Road America.
Yep, he's got about a month and a half to rest up. That next stop for GT World Challenge America. Road America, August 28th through the 30th. What a great venue that is. If you're in the area, highly recommend you come on out there because it's one of the best SRO America events on the calendar. Let's go back down to Amanda now.
And from the pole to their win in class for the Ferrari. And Matthias, when you walk away from this weekend, how did you evolve as a racing driver just in this weekend alone?
No, it was a tough weekend, but great for us. Different conditions, wet track just now on the race start, and drying also, so it was great experience to get. And we could manage to get the win, so really happy with the team, how they performed. Drove really great, so positive weekend and looking forward to Road America, sorry.
I would say that when you look at the season, you guys have been right there to finally get the win, but issues for the BMW, issues for the Ford Mustang. Why is this thing wide open for you guys?
Yeah, it's good for the championship. I'm sorry for these guys that we couldn't race them on track. To be honest, I think we had the pace and the package today to win anyway. So I'm just really happy to be a part of Matthias' journey now already from Sebring, to see how much he moved during the seasons. Are just excited to finish his off and see how maybe he's pushing me too much in the end of the season.
Congrats on your first win.
Thank you.
Hard fought, well earned for that pairing, and they could be a problem for the rest of the pro class looking ahead to the remaining 3 races of the season.
Tell you what, the drivers are tired. Philip Ellis, I don't think I've ever spoken to him when he's been so tired after driving a Mercedes.
Yeah, shows how hard it was there in that final stint. And with the win, though, it brings Schandorf and Kompak into the championship equation, just 8 tallies out of the lead. These were the conditions just over 3 hours ago when this race got underway. A rainstorm just before the start of the race left the track damp. The majority of the field started on wet weather tires, but a few rolled the dice, and that would prove to be a crucial decision in the race. Mackay Stevens at the front of the field was able to get the jump on Matthias Perez Kompak. taking the advantage there. So too Cameron Lawrence, able to make a pass around the Ferrari in the early going. Pit stops coming at a big time to get off the wet weather tires and onto the dries. That was Lawrence back around the Ferrari and then around the Mercedes for the lead of the race. On that strategy at least, this was a huge impact. Derek DeBoer into the back of JP Martinez. Both cars eliminated in this incident. Both drivers, though, would walk away. Full course yellow and an extended one led to a reset. On the restart, we saw this moment here for the Ford. All of a sudden, it lost drive. Scott Dullahite and the Dullahite Racing team left to ponder what might have been. Sargent put that move on his teammate Yardley before another front-running car hit troubles. That time it was the Turner car of Robbie Foley. Led to a couple of big moments in the pits under full course yellow, including that moment there, which copped a penalty to the then leading Mercedes of Mikhail Grenier. The man on the move, though, in the final hour was Philip Ellis. He drove to the Pro-Am lead, well, his teammate Jason Daskalos did actually, and he kept it there. Then challenged his teammate for the overall lead and took it with that decisive move in turn number 12. Behind them, the fight for second place in Pro-Am was a fierce one. Aaron Telitz under duress for the better part of an hour. The checkered flag, though, flew for JMF Motorsports as Jason Daskalos scored his first ever series win. AF Corsa picking up the wins in both Pro-Am and Am. Back down to Amanda, who is standing by with Aaron Telitz, who worked hard for his second place today.
Well, not that you're going to have to go back and look at the race recap of everything that was being said about you, because you were living it. The guys just saying how hard you worked out there today. How difficult was this one for you?
Oh, yeah, that was really tough, but so happy to get Archangel and Todd his first podium in GT World Challenge Championship. And, man, the guys did such an amazing job. Todd, in that first stint, we called rain tires, which is apparently not the way to go, and he held on to it.
In hindsight, it might not have been the best call, but
yeah.
It's all good.
Todd, when you think of this achievement, how long and how hard have you guys been working for this moment right here?
I think we're 2 years dry on a plastic trophy, so we're super excited. This is only the beginning, so we're here to win now.
Well, that is DJ in time for podium, so get up there, guys.
And we won't stand in the way. They've got something to celebrate. Cy Jerry and his wife Susan, who are part of the North American distribution arm, basically, of McLaren. They're in the background. They've done a lot of good work to build grids of McLarens, whether it's at the GT3 level, GT4, or McLaren Trophy.
Yeah, two great McLaren Trophy races and a big weekend for McLaren in GT4, sweeping the weekend as well. So
That's
almost
true.
did the trifecta.
Great point. This is a banner weekend for that brand, at least in GT World Challenge America competition. The Pro Class podium will be recognized first. Up there in third place, Zach Vanier, Michael McCann Jr. Another podium for them. They've done a good job making sure they don't have any disastrous outings so far this season. That third place finish has them in last in the points, but only 1 point behind Sedgwick and Lawrence, and only 26 out of the championship lead. The trouble is they're just running out of opportunities to make up ground with only 3 races to go.
Yeah, as we said, only 7 opportunities, so it's tough to play catch-up in the Pro Class. It's super competitive. All of the entries we have all have potential to win, but right now it's all about JMF. Solid day, despite, I feel, maybe their weakest weekend, if you call a P2 finish, but in terms, we always expect them to be right at the top edge and winning.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, the DNF at Sebring is obviously weaker, but that was one where on pace they could have won the race. I'm not sure, to your point, that they were quite as much on the front foot as, say, the Ferrari, even the Mustang at times.
Yeah, I agree. We just saw that right through the practices. And but they kept their poise and solid day, and they'll just take the break now, reset, and come back at Road America.
And the first win in the young career of Matias Perez Compact at this level. Fred Schandorf, a great asset to help shepherd this young driver along.
Yeah, really great. They're really nice couple of young guys and going big places with their careers. Perez Compact, so young and so much to learn, but boy, he's learning fast.
And only 8 points out of the championship lead now, up into second place. That means if they were to win, no matter what, if they were to win at Road America, it would at worst be a 1-point deficit going into the final 2 races.
Yeah, there's lots to play for, and then it's going to come down to horses for courses. Will the Ferrari be strong at Road America? I think it will. Mercedes seems to be in its sweet spot any circuit that we visit, so they're always going to be there or thereabouts. But don't discount that Porsche there from McCann Racing. You got the Turner Motorsport BMW. They had a rough day, as did the Ford, but they got pace.
Been talking about the championship situation, and there it is writ plain for you. Stevens and Grenier, with the runner-up result, lose a little bit of ground, but still hold an 8-point advantage over Schandorf and Matthias Perez-Companc. Really wonder what might have been today for Turner if they hadn't hit technical issues. Robbie Foley was absolutely flying.
He was flying. I think they still had a fresh set of Pirelli P0s for that final stint, so he could have moved forward potentially and really been knocking on the door of a championship lead by the end of the day.
Alex Sedgwick, Cameron Lawrence, not much to be excited about other than the fact that once again, on a weekend where they didn't start off terribly strong, they did get that car in the window before the technical issues hit.
They had great pace. They talked about wet conditions in the kind of damp conditions. That certainly showcased that Ford is a little bit softer and more compliant when the grip level is low. So they were spot on with that analysis, and they look strong in the real dry conditions as well, but unfortunately a technical issue.
Time now for the Pro-Am class podium, starting with 3rd place from GMG. It's Kyle Washington joining Tom Sargent on the 3rd step on the box. Through 4 races in a very deep field, their worst finish is just a 4th at Circuit of the Americas. 2 wins, now this 3rd place and a 4th, and that's why they are the championship leaders in class.
Yeah, just they're firing on all cylinders. Tom Sargent is just immense. Carl did a really nice job. Big weekend for him, big day. You do that 40-minute GT America race, then have to turn it around quickly and get ready for this. In this extreme heat, you have to do basically a stint and a half, so that's a long day's work for him.
Then it's Steelitz and Coleman. First podium for Todd, as you heard them allude to in the interview. And the first win, and it comes as an overall win at that, for Jason Daskalos and the returning Philip Ellis. Special trophy presentations here at Road Atlanta. But what a great result for JMF. And Jason Daskalos getting to celebrate with his family. I believe that is his father there joining him up on the rostrum.
How cool is that?
What a special moment. Not too terribly far away from Father's Day either. Well, Jason's got a lot to be proud of.
Get on down from there. We appreciate you coming up. Drivers, if you
And it still boggles the mind that these two ended up as co-drivers. But, you know, it's nice to see sportsmanship rewarded, because going back to that thing at Barber last year where Ellis accidentally bumped Daskalos out of the way for a position late in the race, then stopped on track to allow Jason through. Philip actually was still penalized for that, even though he gave the position back. He actually lost another spot on track too, letting Jason through. But clearly that stuck with Jason and made it an easy call when he needed someone to fill in this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Philip's a first-class guy. He races hard and he wants every possible position. He wanted the overall win here today. He showcased that mentality once again, but he's also a sportsman, and he recognized he didn't want to hit Jason on the day and wanted to give that position back as best he could.
Now this will be a special one, and one to be remembered. Each of those 3 crews, there's something about this particular result that will resonate with them for a long time to come. Big for the points for the 3rd place crew, first ever podium for the 2nd place, and then that first win and an overall win at that for Daskalos along with Ellis there. Here are the points. Kyle Washington and Tom Sargent extending the lead over Musial and Yardley to 12. Martinez and Halen really disappointing. They were caught up in an incident. Still hold 3rd place, but now a distant 3rd rather than being in the championship fight. With the win, Daskalos finds himself up to 4th place all of a sudden. He only had 17 points coming into the weekend, now 42 and within striking distance of the top 3.
Yeah, but all of these teams recognize with the depth of this field, you have a bad day, you can have a 0-point score, and suddenly those points can tumble in a heartbeat.
Lalu and Merrill still holding 5th. Brown and Clark, Ellis and Lee 7th and 8th. Philip Ellis has only run one race. He's up to 7th because he picked a good one to win, evidently. And here are the M-Class guys, Schreibman and Simonson. They'll get a chance to take their photos with their trophy. Need to hear Benny's thoughts on the chance to come and check this one off of his bucket list.
Well, I think he's pretty effusive in his praise of this racetrack. It's certainly demanding, but it's a joy to drive in one of these GT3 cars. So even if you didn't have a great result, you certainly would have enjoyed racing here at Road Atlanta once again. Great to see it back on our schedule.
While we have a moment, Greg Gill, Series President and CEO, is with Amanda Busick.
And Greg, we're literally just adjacent from the podium where champagne is about to fly for our AM winners, but a first venture in 15 years back to Road Atlanta. How banner of a weekend was this for the series?
It was awesome. You know, this is such an amazing track. To be here after a decade and a half, the fans have been amazing. We're so excited, just getting ready for next year.
Real quickly, what do you, for those that may have been concerned about it, the 3 hour, what does this say?
Well, I tell you what, we're excited about it, and you're just going to see bigger and better. Get ready, Road America.
All right, guys, what a venture here today.
Unfortunately, it's a bit of a wait to get to Road America, but for good reason. Coming up in just a few short weeks, the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, one of the great endurance races anywhere on the planet and the tentpole event for SRO Motorsports globally. If you guys haven't watched it before, firmly encourage you to do so on many of these same places. But, yeah, one of the great events in global motorsport for sure. So the SRO side of things here in the States will take a little pause for Spa, but then we'll be heading to Road America at the end of August as we look at the Manufacturers Championship leading Road Atlanta. We'll see you in Elkhart Lake.